Hello and welcome back to GKR, guys. We are here for day 5 out of 6 for our GKR circuit here, guys. We have got 2 more days of regular season play before the playoffs, and we have got a good one for you today with day 5. We've got knockout coming up, and we have 5 matches, and we have a new caster in the booth, guys. I would like to introduce my buddy Pampit here, and he's going to be helping me out, filling in for Panda, who is not able to make it today. Pampit, how you feeling about the games we got ahead of us?
Yeah, what's up, chat? I'm super excited to watch some knockout today, and this is something I've always wanted to do, cast a little Brawl Stars. Pretty much, I live for that juicy, competitive Brawl Stars gameplay. I've been watching this stuff since like 2020, 2019. I just love it, man. So really excited and thankful to Duncan to be able to have this opportunity here.
Yep, for any of you guys who might not know Pampit, this is my best friend right here. He's the one who got me into watching competitive Brawl Stars. So if you enjoy watching me in the casting booth, then you got to thank this guy as well as Panda for getting me into the game. But we are having a good time here today, guys. We are going to switch over to the feed here real quick, but we have got 5 matchups pulled up for today, starting with Crumbs versus Mori Gaming. 2 teams that have been performing pretty well throughout the beginning of this tournament, but they are definitely both in positions where they could make the playoffs, they could not make the playoffs. So day 5 wins would be absolutely massive for the momentum that they're trying to take going into the postseason right here. What are you expecting from this Crumbs versus Mori matchup, Pampit?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been watching every single GKR stream that's been played, but these are 2 teams who have been on the up and up. I know Zemp's team actually just qualified for the monthly finals, sort of an upset over what was it, Code OG. So definitely players that are going to be competing in monthly finals within maybe this second split, and definitely for years to come. So I think all of these players here, they're a little bit not newer to the scene, but little less known. So I'm still expecting a great game because they're all great players.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, they might not have the most tournament experience, especially when compared to teams like SSG, like Tribe Gaming, like Kansas City Pioneers, but I think that they all have great players. They've proven that any given day they can go out and beat some of these better teams. I believe that Zemp's team actually beat SSG in the monthly qualifiers, and that's what caused SSG to have to play Code OG in that final win-or-go-home match. But should be a great matchup that we've got on board for us today. Just checking up on the leaderboards real quick. I believe that we've got Crumbs sitting at 2-2, kind of in the middle of the mix. Mori Gaming near the bottom of the field at 1-3. So definitely not the best of positionings for Mori Gaming right here, but there's still a lot of time, guys. We've got 2 days left. So if Mori is able to upset Crumbs and then win again on day 6, which we have coming up tomorrow, then they might be able to sneak their way into the playoffs. Crumbs, on the other hand, a little bit higher on the leaderboards than people would have expected. So they are definitely going to be trying to hold on to that positioning, maybe even extend on it a little bit more. But we have 8 teams that will make the playoffs, so it's definitely not going to be the best of a look if you're outside of that top 8 after today, but still a couple of days left, so hopefully these teams will be able to kind of show that they belong in that top 8. Do you think that one or both of these teams are going to qualify, Pamp?
Yeah, I mean, I think Crumbs is definitely in a really good spot too. And just to address the chat a little bit, yeah, no Panda today. There's Pampit instead. I'm not saying I'm going to do as good of a job as Panda here, but I'm going to try my best. This is my first time casting something like this. So yeah, I'm just excited.
Yep, and guys, we can read the chat, but since we are a professional production studio, we're going to try to keep it focused on the games right here as we move forward. We've got a little bit more time before we get kicked off with our first matchup, Crumbs versus Mori Gaming, as I said, but we can run down the other matchups that we have awaiting us in the later part of today. We've got, following Crumbs Mori, we are going to have Moto Mommies versus STMN. Both of those teams are currently in playoff positioning right now. We've got Moto Mommies at 3-1, tied for first place. We do have a lot of 3-1 teams that are tied for first place, but Moto Mommies is indeed one of them. And then they're going to be facing off against STMN, who is sitting at 2-2, had a pretty bad start, but has been definitely on the come up since then. Following that, we have matchup number 3, which is going to be SSG Space Station versus GG. GG is unfortunately one of our 0-4 teams right here, so probably not going to be able to qualify for playoffs. Maybe they could win both games, but they're going to be playing for pride. They're going to be trying to prove that they can hang with the GOATs at SSG right there. SSG is also sitting at 2-2, following a pretty bad start to the tournament. They have definitely got some work to do to prove that they belong in that top 8. All of us expect them to qualify, but nothing is given. Respect is is earned, not given. That's what I was going to go for there. Following that matchup, we're going to have LLC versus Pioneers, and then our final match of the day is going to be Elevate versus Code OG. Pampit, which one are you most excited for out of this slate of games that we have?
I mean, that Code OG matchup is definitely speaking to me a little bit, as they're the best team in this little tournament so far, as well as Elevate just being, you know, one of the hottest teams in NA right now, if not the hottest, especially after Tribe stumbled a little bit at their what was it, in Dallas at that tournament a few weeks ago. So yeah, it looks like we're getting kicked off now.
All right, guys, we are going to go into game number 1. We've got Crumbs versus Mori Gaming right here. We're going to go ahead and get into this draft, but it looks like our bans are in. We're going to have Gene, Lumi, Hank, Gray, Brock, and then a Hank double ban out here. We have Gus with the first pick for Mori Gaming, followed up by Rico and RT for Crumbs. This Rico pick is something that we've seen come out more often in the last couple of months than typically seen, but we've seen players like iChaos absolutely go crazy with 1v2s to clutch up the round with this Rico. It is kind of a map that's a little bit built for Rico, but as a standalone brawler, I'm not really too sure if he's got the HP or damage to be able to be that effective. You definitely have to be a pretty high-skilled player to pull it off.
Yeah, I feel like on this map there used to be a more of an emphasis on throwers, and I think Rico sort of takes that role a little bit by, you know, being ranged, and here we go with a Sprout from Mori Gaming here. But yeah, what I was saying is the Rico over here is a control brawler that can also do decently well into like some aggression with that multi-ball launcher gadget. So it's a little bit of a safer pick while still sort of giving the effect of a thrower here on the map. And they do follow that up with an RT, which is a good tank counter as well as a good ranged brawler. So just a very safe 1-2 or 2-3.
Whenever I think about safety and knockout and bounty, RT is always the brawler that comes to mind. He's obviously able to counter any last pick aggression that Mori Gaming might be able to throw out here. We see Mori Gaming is going to finish up their draft with a Sprout and a Squeak at that 4-5 turn. So they've got their range with the Gus. They have a thrower with the Sprout, and obviously those walls are going to be so impactful as we get into the end part of the game. Squeak is another brawler who is a little bit underrated on maps like these. He has great control, whether you're running the long extra range, extra damage gadget, or the residue gadget that can kind of zone out the opponents. He is definitely going to be able to find a place in the meta here. We see Crumbs, though. Obviously, Mori Gaming does not have the most HP on their comp, so Crumbs is going to kind of try to take advantage of that with the Daryl last pick. Might be pretty difficult for them to counter him out once he is able to roll in. I feel like Crumbs might have the draft here with that Daryl last pick. What do you think, Pamp?
Yeah, I was going to say a very squishy comp over here from Mori Gaming, and I was definitely expecting some kind of tank to come in from Crumbs. But again, tanks in Knockout are pretty risky to play sometimes because, you know, you're trying to build up that super, you're getting pushed back without it. But Daryl's one of the best answers to that because he, of course, charges his super automatically. So yeah, as we get into this gameplay here, Daryl's sort of sitting back. Rico's keeping a lot of these brawlers off of him for now. A nice gadget from Squeak onto the Rico to take him to half HP. And yeah, it just looks like Crumbs is pretty trapped in their spawn right now. Daryl goes in on the Squeak and manages to get that pick and rolls out. What a play from Zemp here.
Absolutely diabolical lick from Zemp right there to be able to steal that kill. They really don't have anybody that can defend themselves from the Daryl roll except for maybe Z on the Gus once he gets his shield. But there is no supers on the hand of Mori Gaming right now, and it looks like if Crumbs is just able to kind of wait out this smoke, they should have a pretty significant advantage. Obviously, Banquiqui has been pushed pretty far back on his Rico, but not dying is very important for him. Zemp is going to be quite weak, but he's going to be able to wait out that shield from Z, and although he is getting a little bit tapped up, we're going to see the Sprout wall start to come through. Ormi is going to be pushing onto Z and combining with Zemp for that kill. Sunny is going to be left in a 1v3. He has no choice but to run into the smoke, and he ends up feeding Zemp a little bit more of that roll on his way out, so we might have to see Zemp not even have to wait all that long to get his super back as we move into round number 2 here.
Just perfect and patient gameplay over here from Crumbs. They were pushed back heavily into their spawn, and especially Zemp over here just waited for the perfect moment to strike with that Daryl. And then once they had the 2v3 advantage, they sort of just played it slow. So it looks like something similar is happening now. Zemp sort of misses that roll, hypercharges in, and looks like he got too aggressive there. Still one more round if they don't manage to win this 2v3 here, which it's not looking very likely. That Sprout is going to absolutely dominate the Rico in RT now.
Yeah, now that the Daryl is gone, the Sprout should be the brawler to watch. It seems like Zemp got a little bit over aggressive with that roll. He kind of messed up the first roll, tried to compensate for it with the second one as to not waste that hypercharge, but a little bit of a misplay from Crumbs, and now we're going to see more gaming on the offensive right here. It looks like Ormy is not even going to try to win this 2v3 right here. Crumbs are going to be putting the fries in the bag, and that is going to be 1 round apiece. Crumbs versus Mori Gaming. Game number 1 is going to go to our final round of knockout. We see a little bit of utility on the hands of Mori as well. Sprout has his super as well as his hypercharge, and we see Alex with that Squeak super ready to go as well. As far as the side of Crumbs goes, it looks like only Banny has his Rico super ready to go, so Zemps is going to have to wait for his Daryl roll to kind of put some more pressure onto them. We see Crumbs has just played this game so defensively, really just want to wait for that last smoke to kind of push in, but last round Zemp just kind of ignored that.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the unfortunate parts about RT here. Like, Daryl, of course, without super is going to get pushed back. But then this RT over here doesn't really have the best matchups into a Sprout, Squeak, or even a Gus over here. It's not the best for him. Just a lot harder of a shot to hit than a Gus. So those 2 lanes are going to be pretty pushed back from Crumbs until Daryl gets a little pressure. So, yeah, Crumbs is just waiting it out here. Still in their spawn, and the smoke is starting to come in.
Yep, we're moving into the later part of round number 3 here. Zemp is pushing up with his roll. Sunny gets the wall down, but Zemp is going to be able to get through that. He might not be able to get a kill, though. He's got them all super weak, and Banny is going to be there to clean up. We are left in a 1v1, though. Z versus Banny. Not sure if Z is going to be able to get the angle, and he is sitting very low HP. He does end up dying to the smoke, so very, very wild end of that round right there, but we do see Crumbs come out on top. I do think that they had the comp. It seems like when Zemp didn't waste his roll and go in and kind of suicide himself there, Crumbs has the better comp, but it really does come down to execution. We're going to have to see Zemp blocking a little bit harder if Crumbs is going to win another easy round, but Mori Gaming, I think, did what they could with the comp that they have. It's just, I don't really think they have an answer for the Daryl, honestly.
Yeah, explosive finish there, honestly, from Crumbs. Perfectly timed, just waited for the gas to come in. They all had their supers. And yeah, it seems like perfect communication over there. It looks like Z is going to actually get a little more aggressive here at the beginning. I kind of like that play. Don't just wait for the Daryl to be able to get their super. And Sunny now on the Sprout is absolutely pounding the other team.
This aggression is definitely paying dividends for Mori, but Zemp is going to get his roll at just the right time. He's going in, and he's going to be able to get a trade out there, but not going to put his team in an advantageous position. Not really any choice that Zemp had there. I mean, they kind of had to make something happen, but this is not going to be looking the greatest. Banny is not done yet, though. He's going to keep trying for now, but only 32 HP in a dream. I assume that he's probably going to be running into the smoke whenever it appears, but I guess he's going to try to put up a little bit more of a fight. Z is going to take him out. That's going to be round number 1 going to the side of Mori Gaming.
Yeah, much better start. I like that aggressive approach for them. Again, not letting the Daryl just get super for free. But Daryl does have that super now. Sprout's providing suppressive fire over here. And then, yeah, the Squeak, Sprout, and Gus, I think they're all playing a little bit closer together, a little more careful. They're definitely wary of Zemp on this Daryl here.
We've seen Banny get hit by so many of those long Squeak gadgets too. It's definitely doing a good job keeping him as far back as possible. We see Sunny has this wall ready to go, probably waiting for the smoke to start coming in before he's going to play that, but we see Zemp has passively charged his Daryl hypercharge, so that's going to be a pretty important thing to look at as we move into the end portion of this game here. A lot of utility from the side of both teams. It looks like everybody outside of Banny has their super ready to go. The smoke is starting to push up. We're going to see Zemp make his first move up here with his initial Daryl roll. He's got another one ready to go, and that is likely going to be Sunny falling right there. Zemp cycles his roll too, and he is a one-man army right here, almost able to completely wipe the entire side of Mori Gaming with just himself right there. We see Squeak is going to retreat back into the smoke, and that is going to tie us up at 1 round apiece here. Once again, going into round number 3 on Bell's Rock.
Crazy rolls from Zemp. I think if Mori Gaming wants to win, they gotta go in right here before Zemp gets that roll again, because every time he's had it, it's been good for Crumbs. Let's see how they approach this. Sunny's getting a little closer to Zemp over here, who does have his super at this point. And now I think they're just going to wait again for the gas to come in and do what they've been doing these past 2 rounds and just cleaning up.
Yep, Sunny is going to be trying to get his wall for this end portion of the game, but he's not having any luck right now. Crumbs is doing a great job not feeding any sprout shots. That is a fantastic job from their team. Just communicating, staying back, waiting for the moment that they want. The most success that we saw from Mori was when they were able to push up pretty early into the round and not let Daryl kind of get that passive charge, and we are going to see that that strategy is kind of falling apart after round 1. Zemp is going to be going for Alex here, and he's going to be able to get that kill. He rolls again, tanking so much damage, and he almost is able to 1v3 for the second time right here. Z is going to be left all by himself, and that is going to wrap up game number 1 right there. Crumbs walking away with the W. Absolutely diabolical stuff from Zemp on the Daryl. He had a mistake in the first game, but he really cleaned up that gameplay, and he was really able to carry his team as far as the damage and kills output went.
Yeah, this guy Zemp is looking like the best player in the lobby right now. He was on like 400 to 600 health with that hyper Daryl super, which actually, you know, when you're supering with Daryl and you have that hyper activated, that's a lot of damage that you're actually, you know, able to tank. So even though it looked like he was really low, which he was, he had a lot of tank ability there, and honestly crazy. Basically 3v1ing there at the end from Zemp. So
Zemp was actually doing so much work right there. We're going to have to see if he's able to kind of produce that same output as we move into set number 2, which is going to be on Out in the Open, one of my personal favorite knockout maps. I feel like it's got a little bit more versatility than some of the other maps in the rotation. We have that water that is going to be such a big piece as we move into our bans and our draft. Brawlers like Angelo, Eve, and Juju kind of exclusively have a place in the meta here because they're able to walk over that water. And that also means that brawlers with a wall break, specifically Gray and Brock, come to mind as some of those earlier picks that you can use to break that wall, give your team a little bit more escapability so that you don't get trapped and knock out here. But I'm curious to see how this draft goes. I feel like Gray is going to be the brawler that I have my eye on specifically, but also some other off-meta picks like Squeak could probably find their way back into the draft here. I've also seen a Meg come into play once, which would be pretty fun to see. Definitely not expecting it, but curious to see what the balance between range and aggression is going to be here, Pampit.
Yeah, I think this is definitely my favorite knockout play, both to watch and play. I think one of the biggest things that you can get is the wall break advantage, which allows you to walk straight up into your own grass, rather than either taking the water on the left or, you know, going past that unbreakable wall on the right. So I think Brock is a very heavily emphasized pick here. Brawlers like Nani and Piper, they can use their super as well to break that wall while also being ranged. So let's look at these bans here. From Crumbs, we got Jay Young, Gus, and Brock banned. And then we got Gene, Brock, and Lumi banned from Mori. So yeah, like I was saying, that Brock, both teams putting an emphasis on that, do not want each other to get that brawler.
Yeah, outside of the water brawlers, Brock is typically the one that you see being picked early to break that wall, give your team more escapability. We are going to see the first pick coming out from Crumbs, though. It's going to be a Byron, so definitely not something that we see as a first pick all that often, but it does make a lot of sense. He's got good range, so he can hang with the snipers, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility in draft. If they want to pair that with something like a Daryl or a Hank, that is going to be an option that they have at their disposal now with the healer on their squad. So could make for a diabolical combo right there. We see Mori going with a little bit more of a traditional approach with the Angelo, who is a brawler that is very, very often banned or picked first on this map. And they are going to see the writing on the wall. They think that Crumbs wanted that Byron Hank. I think that they probably did too. So Mori Gaming is going to be very wise in snatching that away from their opponents in the draft here.
I don't know if y'all are seeing Banny just absolutely swiping past his camera over here. But yeah, this Byron, an interesting first pick for sure, especially considering Angelo that Mori Gaming took was still available, as well as brawlers like Piper and Nani and Mandy, which are good brawlers into Byron. Yeah, I think Crumbs was definitely trying to get Byron in a tank, which they do go with here with the Daryl. Another thing I will say about Byron, with his splash, it is very good once you get pushed up to the opponent's walls because you're able to throw over. So let's see what Crumbs goes with their last pick. I'm guessing they're gonna have to go something a little anti-tank, something that can deal with the aggression of this Hank, while still supporting Daryl and Byron. So let's see.
Yeah, they definitely don't have any anti-tank on the board right now. So curious what they are gonna go here. The pick is in though, and it is going to be an Eve. I feel like that is a pretty safe pick overall. Can't really go wrong with that. You have the additional maneuverability, being able to go over that lake on the left-hand side of the map. So it seems like a pretty smart pick, a little more DPS than a Byron also, so should be able to deal with the Hank a little bit better. But Eve on its own is not really able to confirm too many kills by herself, so we're going to have to see some team plays coming through there. Expecting, as most competitive knockout goes, probably going to go down to the end of the round more often than not. But we see Mori finish up their draft with a classic cheese strat, the Meeple Box Hank Bubble synergy right there. So definitely a high risk, high reward comp coming out from Mori Gaming. I've seen people try to pull this off before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does, it can be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, first of all, I do like the Eve pick a lot. Allows Crumbs to get over this water on the left while also being not exactly a tank counter, but good into tanks because that Hank is going to feed Eve babies all game. But yeah, the Meeple pick kind of crazy, especially into this Eve here. And I can basically guarantee that this Angelo is going to be running the Pierce gadget. So kind of a crazy combination when you think about it with this Meeple gadget box with an Angelo gadget and that Hank bubble. So if anyone gets in that box from the Meeple, I think they're good as dead over here from Mori Gaming.
Yeah, we see Mori Gaming holding complete dominance over positioning right now. They are pushing up fast and furious right here, trying to kind of keep Crumbs trapped in the spawn for now. Zemp does have his Daryl roll. We're going to see the return of the Zemp Daryl, which was so impactful in game number 1, but we'll see if he's able to do that much in game number 2. Obviously, once Hank does get super, it's going to be tough, but Zemp is going for blood immediately. The Meeple box is going to be there, though, to kind of distract him, and that's going to be 2 members of Crumbs falling immediately. They tried to go a little bit aggressive to get themselves out of that trap, and it just did not pay off right there. They're going to fall very quickly, and that is going to be round number 1, going to Mori Gaming surprisingly fast right there.
Yeah, Mori Gaming also doing a very good job of not feeding this Eve over here, especially Z on the Hank. Obviously, you're going to get hit a little bit as Hank. That's sort of your job. But yeah, just not feeding this Eve super as well as Hyper is going to be huge, especially for this Angelo and Meeple.
Yeah, the Meeple is playing his positioning very well. Alex playing a pretty solid Meeple. He obviously is going to be outranged by pretty much any sniper on this map, but he's doing what he can to provide value to his teammates with those boxes. We see, once again, Mori is going to be pushing up very aggressive, trying to get this spawn trap rolling, and Zemp is going to be boxed. Now here is where the comp shows its brilliance. He's going to be absolutely tagged up by everyone on Mori, but not enough to be able to get that kill right there. Well played by Zemp to get out of a very sticky situation. Ormy's got some Eve babies on the map as well, which clears out some space for his teammates to jump up, so they have completely broken out of the spawn trap. As we move into the later part of this game, the box comes out, but Zemp does not get caught this time around. Final seconds of this round here. Sunny with the hypercharge, but he goes down, and that is going to be devastating stuff for Mori. Zemp is going to clean up right there, and that is going to be round 2 falling into the hand of Crumbs. That is 1 round apiece, guys. All comes down to round number 3 here.
Yeah, Zemp has been an absolute wizard on this Daryl, man. Kind of the same story as the previous match, where once Zemp gets his roll, Crumbs is able to do a lot more. So let's see what they get up to. Zemp does have that roll right now. And an underrated use of that Meeple gadget, honestly, is just breaking up the grass, being able to keep eyes on Crumbs. As you can see, they broke up their front grass, broke up that grass on the right. And now Crumbs really has nowhere to hide. They're just in the back of their spawn, getting pushed back.
Yep, and we've seen this before. The spawn trap is real, and Zemp is quite trapped right here. He's going to be going in on Z with some help from Vanny, but Z gets his super in time. It's not going to be enough healing, though. Zemp is able to get that kill, but he goes down with the help of the Meeple super. Sunny and Alex are going to be able to clean up Zemp right here. So we have a 2v2. Both tanks have been eliminated here, and the Eve babies are going to be popped by Ormy. So it's going to be a little bit of pressure on the side of Mori Gaming right here. They're getting pushed back. Alex and Sunny doing what they can to stay alive, but the Byron gadget comes through. They're both poisoned, and that is going to be Crumbs cleaning up round 3 extremely cleanly right there. I feel like once those 2 tanks went down, Banny kind of just took over on the Byron.
Yeah, and let's not forget about those Eve pets that gave Crumbs perfect position there at the end. Pushed Angelo and Meeple back so far. Those are 2 brawlers that obviously get very hard countered by Eve babies. So yeah, just perfectly played from Ormy there. I think he only got 1 super in that game, but it came at the perfect time and helped them secure that W.
Yep, the Eve babies are a pretty underrated super because although they don't really get kills, they are so good for pressure, for distracting the enemies, and soaking up their ammo. But we're going to see a very different beginning to this game. Banny is not going to hit the splash on Z. who was very much available for the kill right there. So a little bit of a squander from Banny. But either way, we see Crumbs with this positioning that they have yet to have in any of the first game. The Meeple box is going to come down from Alex to kind of keep them a little bit further back, but the positioning has been completely reversed right now. Mori Gaming trying to work out of their spawn this time. Z is going to fall quite weak to those taps as well. Zemp might be able to kill Sunny right here, but he's not going to force it quite yet. Banny's going to keep them healthy, and they're kind of going to go for a reset here, but Ormy's Eve babies are here. The pressure is on.
Okay, so it looks like Sunny on the Angelo is running the jump gadget. Makes sense when you're considering he's facing a Daryl over here. But yeah, Mori Gaming is trapped in this left-hand corner. Zemp is rolling in, gets a double kill, and Z, not much he can do here.
He might pop the super, but he is going to choose to save it for round number 2. So Crumbs is going to walk away with round 1. Zemp is just showing absolute brilliance on this Daryl pick so far. He has played pretty flawlessly in my opinion. I mean, he hasn't really made any mistakes on the Daryl since that very first game of set number 1. So he is definitely impressing me so far. We see Ormy has connected a couple more shots this time around too. He has Hypercharge in hand, so we'll see when he chooses to play that. But once again, Mori Gaming back to their old ways with the spawn trap onto Crumbs. Zemp is going to have his Hypercharge in hand. Ormy pops his Hypercharge, and now we're going to see the Infinity Eve babies coming out, trying to push out of their spawn as Crumbs.
Yeah, Crumbs over here on this right-hand side. Zemp also has his Hyper Super at the ready. Banny over here with his Byron Splash, that's also ready. A few more babies running in. Zemp is rolling in too. And wow.
He is cycling like absolutely nobody's business, and Zemp on the back of Zemp. Crumbs is going to walk away with a game number 2 victory as well right there. So Crumbs is looking like they are not going to be stopped at all right here. They are just looking like the team to beat right now, man. They haven't really showed any signs of stopping, especially on the side of Zemp right there. I feel like Zemp did kind of carry this, but Crumbs is going to win first game here, guys. They move up to 3-2 on our leaderboard, so they are in prime position to make this playoffs. Unfortunately for Mori Gaming, they are going to drop down to 1-4, so likely out of playoff positioning. But either way, I feel like they did kind of make a little bit of a name for themselves. Some players that haven't been in too many high quality tournaments. So I'm happy to see them get some reps in. All fantastic players. Hopefully they'll be back in day number 6 to try to fight for their glory a little bit here. But Crumbs definitely deserve that win. They come out on top, guys. And we are going to take a quick 2 to 3 minute break before we move into our next game. But stick right with us. We're going to have some more games coming right up. All right, guys, game number 1 is out of the way, and we are moving into game number 2, which is going to be Motomami's FA versus STMN eSports right here. Both teams have performed pretty well throughout our first 4 days, but we are going to have Motomami sitting at the top of the leaderboard. STMN is at 2-2 right now. Additionally, though, STMN has picked up Juan Carlos. We did see him play for the first time last week, and they dominated with him on the roster. So it seems like that might have been the missing piece that STMN was looking for in order to make a real impact on the second split of this BSC season. But Pampa, what do you think about this Juan Carlos pickup for STMN?
Yeah, of course, last year, what was it? Juan Carlos, Payne, and second best on KCP. They made, I think, top 8 in Worlds last year. So Payne and Juan Carlos, definitely familiar teammates who have had a lot of success together. And then we got Tacos in here, who is a fantastic tank player himself. So definitely a team that I can see doing some damage in this tournament, as well as monthly finals for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think that Motomami's is also a pretty slept-on roster as well, though. We have Diego Gamer, Rafiki, and Sam, all fantastic players, and this is just a team that I never really know what to expect from. I feel like they can pop off so incredibly hard on any given day. Diego is obviously a very mechanically gifted player, and Rafiki is one of the best aggro players in NA Brawl eSports, in my opinion. I feel like Rafiki is definitely a little bit of a wild card for this composition right here. He can go absolutely crazy on some of these aggro picks, so hoping to see a little bit of that aggro coming out here. Obviously, Knockout, pretty slow game mode, so it's fun when we get to see these tank players, like we just saw with Zemp absolutely cooking on the Daryl. Also, Zemp in chat, what's good, homie? But yeah, he absolutely fried on the Daryl, so hopefully we'll see if Rafiki can go a little bit crazier on take the tank player of the day crown from Zemp in game 2.
Yeah, another team full of great players who have a lot of familiarity in the monthly finals. Diego Gamer, just a guy I've had my eye on since the beginning of the year. Just a lot of attention been going to Evex, Patchy, and Vegeta for good reason on Team Elevate as of now. But Diego Gamer, man, just every time I see him, he sort of plays that role within Elevate that takes the brawler that no one wants to play, if you know what I mean. Evex is on the tank, Vegeta's on that ranged brawler / more passive brawler, and then Diego Gamer just sort of does his thing on every single brawler that he's assigned to. So yeah, just a player that I've loved watching this year.
It's always good to have a guy like that on the squad who can kind of just take that brawler that nobody else wants to play. I feel like I've kind of been forced into that spot in some of our match arenas, Pamphit, but either way, I'm excited to see how this game is going to go. I am expecting that the winner of this should definitely be able to qualify for the top 8, whether it's STMN. If Motomami's wins, they for sure have it on lock, but STMN, this is kind of a must win for them. If they go 2-3, they might be in a little bit of a tough position to make that top 8, so they definitely have a little bit more to play for today than Motomami's, but both teams are trying to secure that playoff spot, and the winner is definitely going to be feeling a lot better than the loser after this one. So hopefully we'll be able to get into that draft soon. Obviously, we're going to have Bell's Rock for our first map once again, so we're going to see how similar the draft is to our game number 1 here. We saw the Rico coming out pretty early, so maybe we'll get to see that again. Maybe we'll even see a little bit of Hank action, but I believe he was banned in game number 1, so definitely one of the tanks that I've got my eye on. Hank and Daryl, I feel like, are the two to watch out for.
Yeah, a little more pressure on these teams of Elevate, Space Station, and STMN, who are all 2-2. Crumbs with that clean 2-0, yeah, puts a lot of pressure on them to do the same, because those teams are going to be fighting for this last playoff spot between the 4 of them.
Yeah, Crumbs definitely made a statement today. Moving up to 3-2 is fantastic for them, but now the other teams that were sitting at 2-2 have a little bit of an additional hill to climb right here. So we've got a lot of teams in the middle of this. Obviously, if you guys were here last week, then you saw both of our undefeated teams fell, so we have no teams that haven't lost already. Those 2 teams were Kansas City Pioneers and Tribe Gaming. They both fell to 3-1, so we got a lot of competitive parity across the region, which has always kind of been a hallmark of NA. Outside of Tribe Gaming's initial dominance in BSC, we have really seen this region be very, very competitive, and although they haven't been able to really bring that into our into the world stage and be able to take home a world championship, I think that NA is a pretty even region, so we are always due for some pretty good games when we get into a tournament like this.
And I'm honestly glad that Bell's Rock and Out in the Open are the first 2 maps that are going to be played in every match. These are probably my favorite 2 knockout maps in the game, both like I said, to watch and to play. So yeah, let's get in this draft here and see what these teams are thinking for Bell's Rock.
That's what I'm saying. Would love to get this draft pulled up here pretty soon, guys. But as far as the bans that I'm expecting to see, I mean, we've obviously had some balance changes hit the game recently, so we can touch on that real quick. But Kenji has got a pretty significant nerf to his hypercharge, but I have still seen that he is a pretty commonly picked brawler. His hypercharge is still very useful, but a little bit less overpowered than it once was. Typically a little bit harder to get 2 supers with that same hypercharge than it used to be. Still think that Kenji is a good brawler, but a little bit less likely to see him. The other brawler is Lumi, guys, but we have got our draft pulled up, so let's pop over to that real quick. Here we are on Bell's Rock, and we have got our bans in. It's going to be Bell, Gray, RT, Angelo, Ollie, and Lumi banned out. Moto Mommies is going to have the first pick.
Yeah, no Bell on Bell's Rock. Gray, probably, I mean, in my opinion, the best first pick because it sort of denies squishier brawlers like throwers, something like Rico. Very good with that walking cane gadget. You know, Lumi banned, still probably the best brawler in the game. Banned everywhere, will be played if it's not banned. And then Angelo and Ollie, 2 really good brawlers on this map. Angelo with that Pierce, and then Ollie a good tank on this map. So yeah, good bans all around, and we got a Gene first pick in here from Motomommies.
I think that the Gene first pick makes a lot of sense. You're going to be able to kind of play that poke game, wait towards the end, and then save that pull for when you really need it to confirm a kill. So I like what Motomommies is going with here. I'm a little bit surprised that they banned the Gray and then picked the Gene. I feel like if they wanted a pull brawler, they would have wanted to give themselves that Gray. But either way, their strategy is going to be unfolding here. They've got Gene, and STMN at the 2-3 turn is going to go with the Daryl Gus. I really do like that synergy right there. Obviously, we saw Zem perform on the Daryl in our first game here, but he's going to be able to passively charge up that super. And then once he is able to go in, he might be able to get that shield from Gus as well to make him additionally terrifying right there. But Motomommies is taking the aforementioned Kenji. Definitely a very interesting pick into the Daryl Pampit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know how much I like that. Kenji, obviously with that nerf, it was pretty big. So I'm not sure if he's a great, 4-5 pick at this point. I saw that. And then we do see the Rico with their final pick for Motomommies. So I do think they are susceptible to this Daryl. Like, I don't know if they countered him hard enough.
Yeah.
But on the side of STMN, love the Gus. I do like the Daryl. Gus is just one of the safest range picks, and we do have the Juan Carlos kit making a visit. I don't know if he'll be playing it, but
I mean, I think that just for the people, man, they gotta put Juan on the kit right here. You can't draft Kit on a team with Juan Carlos and not give it to Juan Carlos, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys have seen his player cam, but there is a giant Kit right next to him as he's playing right here. I love this draft from STMN. I think that they probably have the comp advantage here. I don't think that Kenji is an aggro that can deal with the aggression of Daryl, so we'll have to see how that interaction plays out. The life leech will be pretty important, but we'll have to see Rafiki go a little bit crazy as we get into game number 1 between STMN and Motomommies. We're going to see the positioning on the side of Motomommies as we get started here. Rafiki is going to go straight for Pain on the cat, though, and Pain is going to have no choice but to jump out of there. So he is going to be riding Juan Carlos on the Gus right here. Not really able to get too much motion, but Tacos has his super, and he is going to easily take out Diego. And that is already going to be a 3v2, favoring the side of STMN.
Yeah, Diego definitely a little bit too relaxed right there. Was all the way out by himself. Just so free for that Daryl. I did forget how cracked Rafiki is on this Kenji over here. So look at him absolutely cycling his supers here. All of STMN is weak, but there's nothing that he's going to be able to do about it. So let's see if Diego plays this a little safer this time. I think he should. But yeah, honestly pretty close from Rafiki, almost getting that kit in the beginning, had to jump onto Juan Carlos.
Yeah, I think that Rafiki definitely carried his team as far as pressure went right there. He was able to be the only person to really scare the side of STMN at all, and he's moving up here as well, trying to keep that pressure applied, but we see the Cat Daryl synergy coming through already. Tacos is going to pop that hypercharge as well. The Gene pull is there, but the Gus shield is going to save his life, and because of that beautiful Gus shield, there is going to be no threat to Tacos' HP, and they're going to absolutely clean that up right there. We see the kit that I was mentioning earlier, guys. That is actually a massive decoration that he's got in his room, but very, very well played to STMN. I can't believe that Gus shield was able to hit, but that definitely saved their round right there. Very clean game number 1. We're going to have to see if Motomommies are going to be able to lock in on game number 2, but I don't know if they have the comp here.
Yeah, just not enough DPS, I don't think, from Motomommies, especially when Daryl specifically targets that Rico there. That Rico super isn't going to be doing much of anything. I do think Daryl and Kit is still a good strategy, but definitely more effective when it is last picked. I don't think Motomamis were expecting this.
Yeah, and I think that the Gene first pick is going to be especially weak into that. Definitely not a high DPS brawler, and we saw him pull the Daryl, and it just led to their entire team getting wiped. So probably won't go for that again. We see Payne aggressing here, though, and he's going to feed Rafiki that super. Rafiki does get a hit off, but not really anything to write home about as of yet. We see the Cat Gus synergy, and that is going to be an effective pull from Sam right there. So he's able to pull the Gus with the Cat on him, but not going to be able to pull the Daryl. So hopefully he'll take that note going forward, but that is going to be our first round win for Motomamis that we see here. And it looks like STMN is going to have to play a little bit more cautious. I am a bit surprised to see the Cat riding the Gus more than the Daryl in this game.
Yeah, perfectly played from Motomamis there. I do think, yeah, the downfall of STMN there was honestly Payne jumping on Juan Carlos rather than Tacos to go in. So let's see what they do here. Payne is on the back of...
I don't know why they keep pulling the Daryl, but they once again pull the Daryl, and it immediately leads to their downfall right here. So we've seen a story of two different Gene pulls so far. If Gene pulls Daryl, then they're cooked. If Gene pulls anybody except Daryl, then they're going to win. So, I mean, I feel like it's kind of as simple as that. So we're going to have to see Sam kind of be a little bit more focused here, but Rafiki goes in with the swipe, not going to be able to connect anybody. Tacos with the hypercharge. He's going straight for Sam, and that is going to be a kill. He is not done yet, though, going for Diego as well, and Payne is going to be able to put the finishing touches on that. Rafiki is left in a 1v3. Not unwinnable, but it's going to be an extremely tall task.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, just a pretty chopped draft here from Motomamis. I do not think it had much synergy or, you know, wasn't very well prepared for that Kit last pick when... Especially when they already have the Daryl, like they didn't really pick anything that would be good into tanks. So yeah, just definitely a pretty hard outdraft from STMN there, and they clean up pretty easily.
Yep, that was definitely an outdraft in my opinion, and I feel like they outplayed them as well. I mean, we saw the Gene pulls kind of lead to their own doom more often than not for the side of Motomamis, so maybe not the cleanest gameplay, definitely not the cleanest draft, so they're going to have to definitely focus up a little bit harder as they move into set number 2, but STMN off to a fantastic start so far, but we're going to be moving into out in the open pretty soon here. What are you expecting Motomamis to do to try to kind of bring this game back into reach?
Yeah, I think definitely just taking more time with their draft here, especially if their first pick, making sure that they cover all their bases a little bit better. But yeah, they just have to put that Bell's Rock set behind them. It was a pretty hard outdraft, so not much they could have done.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that right there. We saw a pretty fun draft unfold for us on out in the open between Crumbs and Mori Gaming with the Meeple Hank strategy. I'm very curious to see if maybe that's something we'll see again because it worked out pretty well, especially at the beginning of the game. We saw that Mori Gaming was able to use that combo to kind of completely take over the middle of the map and hold positioning to their heart's content. So maybe we'll see that strategy come back into the fold. Definitely expecting some Angelo Eve action considering it is the water map. We saw Brock get double banned out, but he might be able to fall into play there as well. As far as the Kenji pick went, what do you think about that? Because he is a brawler who did get nerfed. He's coming off the heels of being the best brawler in the game, but we saw he wasn't really able to do anything. Even though Rafiki got supers, he was never able to confirm any kills with that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say I liked the Kenji at the 4-5 turn. I do think that in this day and age, every comp needs a little bit of an aggressive brawler or something that can go in and provide pressure. But especially with their picks supporting it, it just seemed like that Kenji was all alone and just couldn't really do much into, especially a Daryl Kit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the healing, the HP, all of that combined was definitely too much for the Kenji to overcome. I still think that he could find his way to being a useful pick if he is able to be picked like as a 6th pick, in my opinion, like into only snipers when he can use his maneuverability to his advantage. But when the other team has a Daryl, I really don't think that Kenji is going to be good. Same goes for Hank, I would say. I don't really think that you're going to want to play Kenji into Hank anymore. It's a little bit tricky because you used to be able to get away with that and kind of just farm up to your hypercharge, but it's definitely a little bit less of an impactful hypercharge now. What I was saying before we got into the last game too is the other brawler we saw get a nerf is Lumi. She has a little bit of a nerf to that slowing star power, but I really don't think that's made a very big impact. But we are getting into game number 2, guys, on out in the open. Let's go ahead and switch right over to that. We have got our bans in. It's going to be Gene, Lumi, Angelo, Kit, Brock, and Buster banned out. STMN with the first pick is going to take a Buzz.
Love the bans, and that first pick Buzz is crazy. I'm not gonna lie, never seen that, but I'm excited to see what they'll cook.
I don't really understand the Buzz first pick at all. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it could potentially be a false graphic on our screen here, but I mean, considering Motomami's is going for the Ollie, maybe not. Maybe they actually did just draft a Buzz first, which is quite intriguing to me, especially considering their bans. They already banned Kit, they banned Buster as well, so they're gonna go for that early tank. I mean, it could pay it out, but I think that if they probably would have been able to draft it later, if, in my opinion. But Motomami's with the Ollie, definitely a little bit of a safer knockout pick in my opinion. If you're going to go with those aggros, you want the ones that can kind of combine with your teammates to get that kills. If he's ever able to get a hypnosis, that is more likely than not going to be a death sentence for whichever player he's stunned. They're going to pair that with the Bell as well, so pretty solid pick right here. The bounce gadget is incredibly effective as well on this map, so really liking this draft from Motomami's a lot more than I'm liking the draft from STMN so far.
Yeah, and call me a noob, but I honestly don't know how much Ollie counters Buzz or like does well into him. I feel like usually Buzz is sort of picked into Ollie, but I mean, I know Rafiki is an amazing Ollie, so we'll see what he's thinking of. I do like the Bell pick. Is gonna be good against that Buzz with the Bell super. And then we see a Squeak come in from STMN. A pick that I do like, especially on this map, should be pretty decent into Bell, as well as Ollie as a squeakier mid-range option, or a tankier mid-range option.
I think that the Squeak is quite an underrated brawler on this map. I think that the extra range damage gadget can definitely come into play here, especially against a brawler like Belle. If you're able to connect that, then she's pretty much automatically going to be one-shot. They take the Pearl as well, which is another underrated knockout pick. I think that she is fantastic as a tank counter. Pretty much always safe to pick a Pearl or an RT in the middle of that draft. I feel like they kind of fill that same role right there. But that Fire Cookies gadget is going to be quite impactful. If you're able to connect onto a squishier brawler, it's going to bring them down to one shot. And then also you have that super to be able to break open your own walls and give yourself a little bit more maneuverability. So if we do see that Pearl get super, expect their own spawn walls to be broken. We see the draft finish up for Motomami's with a Jae-Yong. I really do like that pairing with the Ollie. I think that Jae-Yong is one of the best brawlers in the game right now, and we are starting to see pro players take him a little bit more serious. So I really like this draft from Motomami's. The STMN draft, I don't hate it, but I'm just so intrigued about this Buzz right here. I'm very curious to see if it actually is going to be a Buzz, and if it is, how he's going to be able to work it out.
Yeah, I think the Pearl's another good pick. Pretty well-rounded, very tanky. Honestly, I'm wondering if Motomami's are going to have the same problem where they don't have enough DPS, once again, to deal with all the tankiness on STMN. But let's see as they go in. Very aggressive start from STMN. Tacos is already in that grass on the Pearl, and Motomami's are all pushed into this back right grass, and Sam does go down on that Bell.
Tacos is putting in absolute work, guys, and we do have confirmation that was a visual glitch. It was a Gus and not a Buzz with the first pick, so restoring my faith in my Brawl Stars knowledge that I'm not just an idiot who thought that Buzz was not good. It is, in fact, a Gus, and it's going to be working out quite well for them so far. Juan Carlos already has his shield online. Tacos was just able to get so aggressive in that initial interaction and get that kill onto the Bell, but it's going to be a very tall task for Motomami's to be able to crawl out of this hole right here. Diego and Rafiki are going to do what they can, but the Squeak Super coming in is going to keep them quite weak. Rafiki's going for gold right here, though. He gets the stun on Tacos, and he's cycling those shots out quite well, but it's going to be nowhere near enough to be able to walk away with that round.
Yeah, I think these brawlers on the side of STMN are just too tanky for Rafiki to do anything about, especially if he goes in solo like that. He definitely needs his teammates to help finish off kills when he has the other team hypnotized. But let's see, sort of a similar start here with Motomami's getting pushed into that back right. Sam is staying alive a lot better this time. But yeah, Diego Gamer goes down there, caught out in between Juan Carlos and Tacos.
Tacos is kind of carrying this round so far, but we do see Juan get caught lacking a little bit. Sam is going to be able to hide in that tiny divot there that Pearl made last round. So well played by Sam to stay alive, and now we've got a 2v2. Rafiki barely connects on the hypnosis too, and now it is definitely Motomami's game to lose. Pain is marked up. Rafiki has his super for that extra shield as well, and that is going to be enough for Motomami's to make a little bit of a comeback in game number 2. A little bit surprised to see them walk away with that after Diego was the first to fall.
Yeah, they escaped the 3v2 there. And honestly, an underrated part about Pearl here, look, they broke that back wall there so they can just walk straight forward, as well as breaking the grass of Motomami's on their side so they can't hide anywhere. Motomami's, once again, pushed into their spawn a little bit in this back right. Rafiki going around on this left side, seeing what he can do. But I think STMN are just going to play this patient now. I think they do have comp and they have position right now.
Yep, and we've seen that pretty much every time they're able to get a kill, it's on the back of Tacos hitting one of those gadgets. So likely waiting for him to get heated up and catch somebody lacking a little bit. They are aggressing, though, on the side of Moto Mamis. Rafiki's moving up with those Jaeyong heals, trying to give them a little bit of pressure, but the connection is there from Pain with the extra damage shot right there. So Rafiki's going to be forced to fall back, maybe going for a jump pad here. Indeed, he is. But Pearl is going to be right there to meet him with the hypercharge. He does get the hypnosis off, but we're going to see Diego fall. But Rafiki is able to get that kill with Sam on the left side, so we are stuck in a 2v2. Juan and Pain versus Rafiki and Sam. Rafiki is going to get tagged up, though, and now it's just going to be Sam left by himself. He is able to get a kill right there, but it is going to be all for naught. STMN is able to walk away with the round 1 victory right there. Pretty insane gameplay going down at the end. We saw everybody waiting for the end, and a lot of people fell in a short amount of time.
Yeah, these guys are not waiting for the gas to come in at all. They're going in, and when Rafiki's been going in, it seems like they've been just trading every time. They were able to win one of those 2v2s, so it seems like they do have a chance in this game. It's not as much of an outdraft as I originally thought when STMN had Buzz, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to see Rafiki putting on the pressure immediately. Wow. He takes out Tacos, and he's going to just dash into the wall to get that shield as well. And just as we get into this game, it's already going to be round number 1 going to Moto Mamis. I don't know how they were able to get that positioning because they had been consistently trapped off of the first interactions in the past games. We also see Tacos getting quickly marked up by Sam. Fantastic taps from him. The Squeak Super is going to be forced out to give them a little bit of positioning back, and Rafiki is not going to relent right here. With the Jaeyong heals, he's going to be playing as aggressively as possible. Sam pops that hyper against Juan, who's going to be forced to use a shield, but Diego with the gadget is going to come in and clean up, and Rafiki with this jump is likely going to be able to finish off this game. That was a very quick victory for Moto Mamis.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Sam went crazy in that second round of that game, just absolutely tapping, keeping STMN back into their spawn. And what an adjustment from Moto Mamis. They were stuck in their spawn all of the first game. In this game, they say no way. Use Jaeyong's speed to just absolutely push up to STMN's grass and keep them back there instead. So it looks like whoever's pushed back is not winning this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're going to see Moto Mamis trying to get some of that pressure again, but Tacos is going to quickly fall. Sam is playing out of his mind right now on the Bell. I've not seen him miss a mark yet. And Rafiki does end up getting a little bit aggressive back in the spawn, but I think that he'll take that trade for his team any day of the week. We have a 2v1 now. Sam and Diego trying to keep Juan Carlos trapped back in the spawn. It's not an unwinnable game for Juan, but with the heals and speed of the Jaeyong, it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to get this victory. Kind of delaying the inevitable as of right now, waiting for the smoke to come in so he can most likely walk into there. But I mean, there's already no supers to feed, so he might as well go for this victory if he can. Likely not going to use a shield, but kind of just taking his time in the back of the spawn as of right now. Not really too much else to say about it.
Yeah, I feel like if you can remember back to the Crumbs Mori gaming matchup, I feel like this game is playing out in the exact opposite way, where Mori and Crumbs were sort of playing it patient, waiting for the gas to come in, and then using all of their utility at the last second. Whereas these teams are pushing up at the beginning and trying to win before the gas comes in.
Yeah, we're going to have to see STMN get a little bit of an answer here after winning in game number 1. They have just completely fallen off in this matchup right now. Sam pops the hypercharge, and he's going to get a connection onto Juan Carlos with the mark, but Tacos is kind of holding this positioning for now. They have no choice but to fall back into the spawn, though. Diego does speed himself right into a charged up squeak shot, though, so not going to be the best for him. He's going to have to heal up right now. But I mean, they still are holding this full positioning, and if I'm Moto Mamis right here, I am not going to get overly aggressive. I mean, we have full positioning, just kind of waiting for the smoke to come in at this point.
Yeah, STMN all the way back in their spawn. Rafiki's going to go in, hypnotize the Pearl here. Oh. Let's see if he gets the kill. Pearl is very tanky, has that shield, and does survive, but gets taken out by a crazy shot from Diego Gamer here.
Dude, Sam is playing like an absolute demon on this Bell right now. Rafiki's going to be going up and trying to clean up Pain right here. He gets one shot. He gets his second shot. The Squeak Super comes in, but that is going to be game number 2 going to Moto Mamis. After a really rough start, they bounced back fantastically well, and they're able to send us into a set number 3 right here, guys. So for the first time, we're going to be moving on to set 3, which is going to be on Gold Arm Gulch. So very excited to see a new map pop its way into the rotation, and I got to give it up to Moto Mamis, man. They had their back up against the wall. It looked like they might get clean swept 0-4, and they just locked in right there. They were able to win that matchup in a maybe not super favorable draft.
Yeah, I guess I'll just never doubt Rafiki on that ollie again. He went absolutely crazy. It seems like every time he went in, he got a kill and seemed to get out every time as well.
Yeah, as we've talked about in the past, Rafiki is one of the best tank players in this region, and he is absolutely defending that crown so far. He popped off on the Ollie and was able to just give his team so much positioning. I want to give a shout out to Sam as well, though. This dude was going absolutely crazy on the bell. He was hitting all of his bounces. He was hitting all of his marks, and that just allowed his teammates to be so much more effective as we moved into the end of the game. So very well played to Moto Mommies, had their backs up against the wall, and they bounced back like nothing had ever happened to them. So they've got all the momentum moving into round number 3 on Gold Arm Gulch. We're going to have to see STMN bounce back.
Yup, and Gold Arm Gulch, a map that's been missing actually from ranked for a little bit, so I'm excited to see what the pros can cook up on this map again. A pretty unique map, not just for knockout, but just in general, because it's played more like left to right, side to side, rather than up and down. So just a lot of weird positions on this map, and then yeah, a lot of grass on those sides, as you all know.
That's what I was going to say too. There is a ton of grass on this map, which definitely makes the aggro picks a little bit more common than they are on most other maps. I mean, we've seen aggros come out here with the Hank, with the Daryl, with the Ollie, but I think that all of those brawlers will be in play. Another brawler that we have yet to see in knockout is going to be the Gray. I mean, I know he's been banned out a couple of times, but I still imagine that he'll be a pretty solid pick right here. Expecting to see him at least one time today, but I mean, hasn't been picked yet. But also, this is a pretty solid Rico map as well. We've seen the pro players that are good on Rico really thrive with the knockout Rico on this map and in Bell's Rock in the past. So if there is somebody who wants to go with the ego pick Rico, we might be able to see it come in here, guys. But we've got our draft pulled up now. The bans are in. It's going to be Gene, Lumi, Angelo, Hank, and Ollie, with the Gene being double banned. So Gray slips through the bans, and finally, this is definitely making me feel a little bit vindicated. We have the Gray first pick coming out for STMN.
Yeah, just honestly, the ideal first pick in Bounty or Knockout once again denies those throwers, squishier brawlers, stuff like Piper. It's very good into, and then I think just like every game so far, the first response from the second pick team is a Gus. Just honestly, probably that next best safe option after Gray. Very good into other ranged brawlers. Can do decently well in the tanks as it'll charge that Kooky Popper gadget, as well as you have that shield for knockback, and it does synergize well with other tanks. And then we see Bell come in with that Gus. A double ranged attack from Moto Mommies right now. I like it into the Gray.
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty solid draft coming out from Moto Mommies. I think that they are probably going to be looking to take a tank with that last pick as well. I mean, going Gus and not having anybody to give that shield to would be a little bit confusing, but they've put themselves in a position where they can get a little bit freaky with this last pick and kind of go whatever they need to counter the comp of STMN. STMN is going to take the Jae Young, though, to complement their Gray. Another fantastic brawler, whether he's on his own or with his teammates, he's going to be able to use that speed and those heals to get so much value. That damage gadget has been so effective as well in the past, so can be fantastic for confirming kills, can be fantastic for speeding up your teammates so that they can confirm kills. So I really like the draft from both of these teams coming out. I'm curious if we're going to see some tanks start to fall, though. Indeed we do. Stamina is going to take the Buster, so without the Hank and the Ollie in play, I'm curious if Moto Mommies is going to go for a tankier option, maybe the Daryl, or if they're going to be content playing at range here. But assuming that they're going to be looking for a little bit of a tankier option, since they're most likely going to be playing for the smoke.
Yeah, I definitely think Rafiki is plotting on some sort of tank. Definitely would not be surprised if the Daryl came in here. It's probably one of the best knockout tanks. Yep, there it is right there. As well as being good into Buster. And then, yeah, can do well into Jae Young and Gray as well. Once again, I don't know if STMN will have the DPS to deal with this Daryl here. But yeah, we'll get into the game and see what happens.
Yeah, we have seen this Daryl be such an impactful brawler on the fields before, so I'm curious if they're going to have enough damage to be able to deal with him too. I mean, Jae Young and Gray, although they are very versatile and have a lot of utility, they really don't have the ability to just blast somebody down all by themselves. Buster's got a little bit more damage, but really not all that much. So we'll have to see how this goes as we get into set number 3, guys. We are tied up one set apiece right here. We're going to see both teams jockeying over position on this left-hand side, which is a little bit rare to see this aggression coming out, but we see the entire team of Moto Mommies is trapped, and looks like STMN is going to be a little bit falling back now. I mean, they fell a little bit weak there. Sam is once again popping off on this Bell, but he's going to be able to keep his team alive for a little bit longer. Rafiki's going crazy, though, with a double kill, and this man cannot be stopped on tanks. He solo carries that round for his team.
Wow, all I'm going to say is my Daryl does not do that. Just reminded me of Zemp in that first game too, where he just absolutely, I think he team wiped there. So yeah, just incredible plays from Rafiki once again on this golden tank. Let's see if STMN can respond. I'm surprised they haven't tried to charge up a little more Buster Super before going in, but once again, I do think they are trying to get the game over with quicker rather than later.
But the pressure of Rafiki is definitely going to make them regret that once again. They keep on going for these spawn traps, but it all falls apart whenever Rafiki gets a super. Now he's going to be able to quickly deal with the gray. Psych! He actually juked all of us out right here, guys, and he's going to be able to survive that. Juan does stay alive with the hypercharge, but I mean, he's stuck in a 1v3, and he's literally gray. That's a fantastic kill, though, keeping himself with a chance to stay alive, but that is going to be short and sweet right there. That is going to be round number 1 going to Moto Mami's, and we saw them with their backs completely against the wall. They have not flinched since that point. They are completely locked in right now, and they are on set point.
Yeah, Rafiki does not like long knockout games is something that I've gathered. He wants to end this game as soon as possible. It's kind of interesting. I think STMN fed him a little bit of Daryl super, so he got it faster than he would have gotten if he was just sitting in the back of the map waiting for that super naturally. So let's see if STMN might slow this down a little bit, take their time a little more, charge up that Buster super, and then decide to go in. But I do understand them not wanting Daryl to get super, because once he does, it looks like they don't have much of an answer for that.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a tricky situation because they want to wait for their Buster super, but Moto Mami's is just waiting for their Daryl super, so kind of mutually assured destruction with that. I do think that the Daryl super is more impactful, but Juan hits a fantastic hook right there. Almost able to take out Sam, but Rafiki is going in. He's going to get the kill, but Juan, in his absence, is going to go and get that kill in the back of the spawn right here. Diego with the shield, though, is going to be able to take out Juan Carlos. Jae-Young trying to catch up with the damage gadget. Payne doing all he can to survive here, but it is unlikely that he'll have anywhere near enough DPS to be able to take out Rafiki once this Daryl roll charges up. He knows that for a fact. He's going to go into the smoke, and we are 1 round away from seeing a complete reverse sweep for Moto Mami's.
Yeah, Moto Mami's take the round there. STMN is all going to be on this right-hand side. Moto Mami's all on this left-hand side. And unless STMN have some drastic changes and some crazy team play, I don't see anything going differently.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Juan do everything he can to be able to secure at least 1 kill, but I mean, once he goes in, then he's going to leave his team a little bit weaker for Rafiki to go, and I feel like this game has really just come down to Rafiki being able to kill tacos and get away with it every single time, so we're going to have to see how this goes right here. This is the first time that we've seen both of these teams playing a normal knockout round on this map. I mean, we've seen the spawn traps and the aggression be so just so paramount in the way that these teams are approaching this, but now we're seeing a little bit more caution. Now that STMN knows their backs are against the wall, we see Juan hit a fantastic hook right there, though. Nobody's going to be there to capitalize, though. Juan does not choose to use his teleport either to secure the long pull, so they're holding on to their utility. Fantastic shield from Tacos right there to block the hypercharged Bell Super, and now we are moving into the last seconds of this round. Rafiki going in with his roll. He's going to be able to not take out Payne or Juan Carlos somehow. He's still alive, but he is going to fall to Tacos. The entire STMN roster was so weak, but just nobody fell.
Yeah, very clean from STMN. Way to keep their head. I honestly think that Moto Mami's should have gone in earlier. I saw Rafiki on that left side spinning. I could tell he couldn't wait to go in. But wow, Sam gets picked off there, and I feel like I just had my first caster's curse. I guess things are going very differently. Yeah, Sam gets picked off there, and it's now a 2v3 in favor of STMN.
This is the first signs of life we've seen from STMN in quite some time right here. They absolutely need to win this game to bring it to game number 3 in set number 3, but they've got the 3v2 matchup lined up that they were looking for. So as long as nobody folds here, it's definitely should be STMN's game to lose, but obviously we've seen Rafiki get 2 kills and get out with it before, so that's definitely going to be the player to watch, especially with Diego Gamer. He has his hypercharge, obviously no super in hand yet, but if he's able to get that shield onto Rafiki, that could cause a little bit of a crazy 2v3 action to occur here. So Diego's going to be working towards that shield, not quite able to get it yet though, and Payne is going to be trying to break up the 2 players on Moto Mami's.
Yeah, I like the team play from STMN here, all keeping together, trying to avoid that Daryl, and they clean up.
That was a little bit close, but I mean, STMN definitely knew what they had to do to secure that round. That is going to be game number 2 falling to them, guys. The winner of this next game is going to be the winner of this STMN versus Moto Mami's matchup. So the stakes could not be higher right here, guys. We have got to see who is going to come to play right here. We've seen a lot of different styles of gameplay. We've seen like the aggressive, spawn trappy, right off the rip strats. We've seen the slow, wait for the smoke strats. So it seems like we're going to get a little bit more aggro coming in here. Payne is almost going to fall right there. Would have died if he didn't switch to that heal mode on the Jae-Young right there. So well played by Payne to be able to stay alive, but definitely a little bit scary for the beginning of this game on STMN's part.
Yeah, Rafiki was weak there at the beginning too, and if I had to guess on adjustments being made, I think Motomami definitely would prefer to repeat something in that first round where they were actually going in earlier and sort of getting the game done before the smoke was coming in. Whereas STMN in the second game, they played it slower, stuck together more, and they did wait for the gas to come in. So we'll see how those opposing strategies clash here.
Yep, we're going to see both teams kind of just playing left to right, as is so common on this map. But not too much aggression coming in. Juan is barely off with that gray walking cane, so he's not going to be able to secure any kills. But Rafiki is using the water to extend the range of his roll. He is about to come in here, but Tacos is popping up that shield, trying to give his team a little bit of time. But Sam with the kill right there. He does waste his hyper super, but it should not matter. Rafiki's going to be able to clean up. And once again, we are going to see Motomamis bring it to round point. They just need one more to be able to lock out this win against Stamina eSports. But Stamina has been here before and they've bounced back, so we're going to see them pushing back. Aggro on this left, right-hand side of the map. The long pull is there from Juan, though. Diego is going to be able to survive, but Rafiki overheats just a little bit. And the healing from the Jaeyong is going to be able to keep the entire Stamina roster alive. They are all so weak, but Sam with the connection. Now we're in a 2v2 Pampit.
Dude, Sam on this Bell, man, just absolutely picking them off. But we do have both the ranged brawlers on each team remaining. So we got Jaeyong and Gray against this Gus and Bell. It seems like Gus and Bell have a little bit of the position now. They do have that middle area, whereas Juan Carlos on the Gray had to go all the way around to reposition. But yeah, I think Diego Gamer and Sam are going to have to play together so they don't get teleported on by the Gus. But that, of course, would leave them open to getting shot by the, by Jaeyong, and having that star power that pierces and does more damage. So we'll see how they play out here.
Smoke is coming in now, guys. This is going to be our finishing touch. Juan is going to be able to go in for that kill, and now it's Diego versus Pain. Is he going to be able to get the shield in time? He is not. That damage gadget from the Jaeyong is going to be enough to secure that. So now we are one round apiece, one game apiece, and one set apiece in this final set of Knockout. This is absolutely crazy, guys. The winner of this will take all, but we're going to see once again, when we get into Game 3, these teams want to play so cautious. They are absolutely not messing around any longer. Rafiki is likely not going to move out of this bush for quite some time. And we're going to see the same strategy being employed by STMN, all just charging that Buster Hypercharge. So every team is going to get their utility online, and they'll probably wait until after that to go in right here. Sam is checking his surroundings, but I promise you, buddy, there is absolutely nobody in there. The Buster does, in fact, have his Hypercharge now, so now it's going to be Juan's turn to try to get his portal charged up.
Yeah, we got a pull coming in from Juan Carlos here. Breaks up a lot of that wall on the right side. I think that does do a lot of good for STMN, a little more room to maneuver. Even though Elevate or Motomamis does have a little more range, Rafiki is just absolutely spinning in this bush. You can tell he can't wait to go in. And it looks like that's going to have to be sometime soon because the gas is coming in. He gets a Gus shield and goes in on Juan Carlos. Buster shield coming in from Tacos with a teleport away from Juan Carlos. And what is happening? A hyper super from Tacos.
Oh!
And Motomami's clean up. Sam and Diego Gamer just playing so well, sticking back and just cleaning up after Rafiki went in there.
There were so many situations where I thought STMN was going to be able to walk away with that, but against all odds, Motomamis comes back, and they're going to take this matchup win over Stamina eSports. Fantastically played. That was an electric class set. I felt like it was so back and forth so many times right there, but we saw Motomami's cooler heads prevailed, and they were able to walk away with the W right there. Absolutely diabolical stuff from that team right there. I thought that Stamina was going to have it at the end. I mean, I think that they got the first kill of that last round. Am I correct?
Yeah, and just what a 3-game series. That just went all the way to the end, and well played to everyone.
Yeah, that was super back and forth, but we do see Motomamis walking away with the W. They are going to move up to 4-1 throughout our first 5 days of league play. Unfortunately for Stamina, that is going to be their first loss with Juan Carlos on the roster. They move down to 2-3 and are in dangerous position to not make the playoffs right here. So before we get into our next game, we are going to take a quick break. But once again, GG's to Motomamis, GG's to Stamina eSports, and we will be back in 2 to 3 minutes with Space Station Gaming versus GG. Alright guys, we are back with day 5 of our GKR circuit. We are going to be playing some knockout once again here, chat, but we have got two teams coming up right here. Space Station Gaming versus GG, formerly known as 919. But our rosters are going to be SSG with Bobby, Chino, and Sans against GG, which is Doodle, Nerf, and Venom. We are clearly going to have a favorite today. Obviously, SSG is the better known team, the more popular players for sure, and they are sitting at 2-2 on our leaderboard versus GG, unfortunately at 0-4 so far. But I mean, it could be any given day that they are able to get one of these W's. We did see SSG lose in day 1 to LLC, which is a similarly lesser known team. So, I mean, it's definitely not out of the question, but GG is going to have their work cut out for them today. Pampit, what are you expecting from this game?
Yeah, I think for SSG especially, with them going into monthly finals, they're going to want a strong performance here, just to get a little confidence, get their drafts right. And if I'm not mistaken, I do think they have a new coach slash drafter that may have not been announced yet. So I think all these games, all these reps are just going to be very important for them for the bigger tournaments, and of course that Worlds slash LCQ spot in the future.
Yup, definitely. I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be playing with their new coach today, but I know that Bobby has talked about it online, so hopefully we'll get to see some of that drafting expertise come in. I would love to get a coach reveal at some point too, so maybe we'll be catching up to that pretty soon, especially if they're able to get a W right here. But like I said earlier, they should definitely be the favorites against GG, but unfortunately for all the SSG fans, ourselves included, they've definitely lost some pretty winnable games in the past to teams that everybody expected them to beat, and a lot of that has come off the heels of questionable drafting decisions. So we're hoping to see some good drafts come through from both teams. If I'm GG here, I'm definitely going to start thinking a little bit outside of the box with the draft as well. Considering that you are playing against players who are expected to beat you, it might be time to get a little bit freaky with the draft.
Yeah, and I could see SSG doing the same thing, maybe experimenting a little more with their drafts against opponents that they probably should be beating here. But yeah, I always love to watch SSG play, and then, you know, I love that juicy competitive gameplay. Yep,
and we're gonna get both of that coming up here, guys. We will go ahead and show you the rosters right here. We've got SSG, and like I said earlier, they are sitting at a surprising 2-2 record throughout our first 4 days of league play, so definitely lost some pretty winnable games. I believe their losses came at the hands of Pioneers as well as LLC eSports. They did bounce back last week and beat Pioneers to knock them out of their undefeated spot on the leaderboard, but they're definitely going to have to keep that upward momentum rolling. And I think that they should have a pretty easy matchup here against GG, so expecting them to be finishing today at 3-2, but this is definitely a must-win for them. If they lose this, they are going to be, as some would say it, absolutely cooked, but I think that they should be able to bounce back strong, maybe with the help of their new coach, maybe without. GG, on the other hand, they're just looking for a morale boost here, man. They are 0-4, they are out of playoff contention, but they are going to be trying their hardest to get a big W here. We've got our map pool selected here as well, guys. Once again, we're going to have Bell's Rock first, Out in the Open second, and Gold Arm Gulch third if necessary. So as far as Bell's Rock goes, Pampit, I mean, we've seen SSG play on this map more than enough times. You have any ideas for what you think they might be going with in this draft?
Yeah, I'm not too sure as of now, but I think for both teams here, we have a little bit less of an emphasis on the tanks. I think both teams don't have a player who's necessarily known for just maining tanks and absolutely going crazy. I know obviously both teams have players that can play every brawler, but I think on Bell's Rock and Out in the Open especially, there might be a little less emphasis on those tanky brawlers like Ollie or Kenji, for example.
Yeah, and we've seen that SSG is typically not the most aggressive with their drafts, but I mean, the one game that we had last week against Kansas City Pioneers, they did pull out the kit on Ring of Fire, so they're no stranger to some of these freakier drafts. We're going to see what we get into, though, guys. We have got Bell's Rock for our first map of the day. The bans are Angelo, Lumi, Jean, RT, Brock, and Gray, and we see GG go with the kit with the first pick of the draft. SSG is going to answer that with a tankier option with the Hank, as well as the Jae Young to support that Hank pick. That kit first pick is a little bit out of left field, though.
Yeah, Hank and Jae Young, just a very strong combination right now. I don't see what a kit can really do into that Hank for now. But wow, very quick moving draft. GG's going to go with a Miko and Squeak as well. Very, very interesting. And then SSG, okay, I was saying not emphasis on the tanks, but look at this. We got double tank Jay Young coming out from SSG.
We are getting straight into it right away, guys. The cat is already going to be using that gadget, trying to charge the super up. The Kit Miko strategy is, oh my goodness, Bobby is going to get caught out by himself. What is he doing up there? Oh my goodness, I didn't even see the Hank die immediately too, so that is going to be a very, very speedy victory for GG in round number 1. Not really too sure how Hank died. It looks like we got into the game a little bit late there, but SSG's comp is not looking the greatest so far. The cat monkey strategy is something that I've seen in the past. It's a little bit troll for competitive play, but I mean, there is so much, what is Venom doing trying to jump on the monkey with the jump right there? Very interesting mistake right there, but the monkey is going to be landing onto Chino, and that is going to be a kill for Doodle, 2 kills for Doodle, and now it's just going to be Bobby left by himself. I don't think he's going to be able to get this victory right here. That is a very quick victory for GG's.
Yeah, my first instinct was going to be, how does GG have the DPS to do with this Hank and Ollie plus a healer? But it looks like they definitely do. Wow, like, I think that first round was just a little sloppily played from SSG, but that second round, GG just absolutely pressured SSG into their own corner, and then whoever was on that monkey there, I forget who it was. Yeah, Doodle just went crazy on that monkey.
That was interesting because when you see the Cat Miko synergy right there, you usually see the Cat's gonna jump on the Miko's back, the Miko's gonna jump around to reposition, and we never even saw that take place, and they were still able to easily win. But Sans is applying a ton of pressure so far. Much better start for SSG, but they're not gonna be able to walk away with any kills quite yet. Sans is gonna be falling a little bit weak, but Chino's got those heals online ready for him. Pretty passive positioning right now from the side of GG, but we finally see the cat monkey working out a little bit. Venom is going to be popping that gadget to get that super back, but both teams are just trying to apply a little bit of pressure right now. SSG's can't be much worse than last game.
Yeah, Space Station definitely taking it a lot slower, being more careful. Sans does have that super, so now if he gets jumped on, he has a lot more defense from that monkey and the cat. But let's see what happens. The cat is riding the monkey right now. He's throwing a lot of shots at Sans here on the fish. Lots of animals in this game. But wow, Doodle's just going crazy, jumping, and is able to super and escape with just Bobby and Sans, or Bobby and Chino remaining. Jumps on Bobby, misses a jump there, but is he able to finish Chino?
What?
Doesn't even have to. Chino dies to the storm.
I don't know what Chino is doing there. I feel like if he stayed in the middle of the map, he would have had to have reloaded faster than Doodle on the Miko, but he is going to unfortunately fall victim to that storm damage. That was an insane round right there, but somehow SSG is not going to be able to walk out away on top. They are in a very, very bad spot right now. They need to absolutely fully reverse sweep from this position here. Bobby has super, and Venom misses his kit jump onto Doodle on the monkey right there. That is definitely a costly mistake. As Nerf pops the hypercharge, Doodle's going to go in on Sans, and that is going to be more than enough. He's got the hypercharge jump too, so whoever Doodle lands on here is going to be stunned. It looks like he's choosing to play passive, maybe anticipating that Bobby super, but he is going to fall weak to that. Venom's going in for the trade, and now we have a 1v1 Chino versus Nerf.
Wow, I've never seen this 1v1 before. Squeak versus Jay Young. I don't know who wins. I would have to imagine Jay Young, especially if Squeak doesn't have that extra damage gadget. But we'll see what happens. Super coming in from Nerf here, and Chino is very weak. He's got that damage gadget popped, but he's in the wrong position right now. Nerf is gonna pop a gadget here, so let's see. Okay, he is running the slow. Chino has to move in, and
it's all coming down to the wire. They're blasting through each other, but Nerf is going to come away on top of that. I figured that round would come down to if the Squeak's able to hit the shots. I think the Squeak has that 1v1 on lock, and that is what we saw right there. Insane win from GG right there. I mean, these comps were absolutely out of left field, but they were able to walk away with the Cat Miko W. Definitely an absurd draft and even more absurd gameplay, but I felt like that was there for SSG to win if they just played a little bit smoother.
Yeah, crazy clutch, but I will say Doodle on that monkey, man. He was having his way with a fish and a ollie, so I honestly think SSG just had to play that better. But you know, props to GG. Nerf with that clutch there. And yeah, don't let Doodle get the monkey, man.
Do not let Doodle get the monkey right there, man. We've seen some crazy Daryl plays, but the first crazy monkey play of the day is going to come through. That was just a really fun draft all around. Definitely love to see it from both teams right there, but SSG is going to be up against the wall once again. We've seen them lose to some teams that they definitely should beat, and it seems like they're in a pretty similar position right here once again. Can't be very good for SSG or their fans who are hoping to see them kind of turn into form and become just kind of take their spot back at the top of NA. But so far, they are losing to GG, one of our only winless teams right here. So well played to them to be able to put these veterans on the back foot so far.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, as an SSG fan, as a Bobby fan for many years, it's kind of a classic performance when you see them do this sort of thing. They sometimes come out flat, but I am expecting them to bounce back in these next rounds.
They're gonna have no other choice as we move into out in the open for set number 2, guys. I mean, we've seen the drafts be pretty consistent here. I mean, there's gonna be those water brawlers, there's gonna be those wall break brawlers, and we'll probably see a tank on both teams so far. Maybe we'll even see a little bit of cat action coming through, but that cat first pick was absolutely insane right there. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to see a little bit more out of the draft from SSG this time around. I mean, they got out drafted by a cat first pick, and that just feels like that shouldn't be happening if you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the region and in the world.
And it's weird too, because I think it seems like SSG got what they wanted. Hank, obviously a really good brawler, very safe brawler. Jay Young, one of the best support brawlers, if not the best. But GG was just able to also get what they wanted and play it better than SSG.
Yep, and we have our bans coming through here for our out in the open draft, guys. SSG is going to ban out Bell, Kit, and the Lou, so it seems like Bobby might have taken notes this time, and he's actually going to ban the Kit. The Jay Young, Brock, and Angel are banned out by GG, but we see the most broken brawler in the game coming through for Space Station with that first pick. They are going to secure the Lumi. Maybe not the best brawler in the game when it comes to knockout specifically, but if you play a passive Lumi with that ice gadget, it can be incredibly annoying to deal with. I think that's what SSG is going for here.
I think on this map especially too, Lumi is going to be very good, because if you place your, I think they're called Morning Stars.
Yep.
If you place them in the grass there and then ice gadget, then no one on GG is going to be able to stand there. As well as if you get them spawn trapped, you can just place your two Morning Stars on either side of that unbreakable wall. And there's no way that GG is going to be able to get out without a wall break or something like a Miko to jump over that wall.
Yep, I mean, the Angelo and Brock being banned is definitely going to make it a little bit more spawn trappy, a little bit of those water brawlers and those wall break brawlers being eliminated. I like GG's draft here with the Piper and the Jean, both brawlers that can easily outrange Lumi, and especially the Piper is going to be able to quickly deal with the Lumi if you're able to line up a couple of those shots, especially with that homemade recipe gadget. So Piper's always kind of been the queen of bounty and knockout. She is going to continue to kind of take that role. We see SSG going with the last remaining ranged water brawler with the Eve right there. With the Angelo banned out, Eve almost always finds her way into these drafts, so makes a lot of sense right there. Obviously, Juju exists to walk over the water as well, but it's a little bit harder to play her on this open map, so I like what SSG is going with. They've got one more pick here. Curious to see if they add a little bit of aggression. I mean, GG's got a pretty well-rounded comp, but not the most DPS if they are going to go for something like an Ollie, perhaps.
It seems like SSG had originally wanted to go something tankier with that Lu ban, but I don't think they're expecting the Lumi to be open, so it looks like they might have had to deviate from their original draft plans. But even Gus, two very well-rounded brawlers, very strong brawlers, especially on this map, that we've already seen today played as well, so we'll see what GG decides to respond with.
Yep, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised to see no aggro coming out from the side of SSG, but like you said, I do think that Lumi being open kind of threw a wrench in their plan, so really no choice but to draft her. And for the first time, guys, we're going to have no tanks on the board from either squad. GG is going to take the squeak with the final pick. Honestly, I think that's a really good brawler into Lumi specifically, so it seems like the Lumi has been pretty well addressed, assuming that Lumi's going to have to play pretty passive here, wait for the end of the game, and then kind of use those gadgets and supers to be able to zone out. But I don't really know if either of these teams has a specific, a super strong draft advantage right here, but we are moving into set number 2, guys, on out in the open. And in case you missed set number 1, we do in fact have GG with a 1-0 lead over SSG.
Yeah, so we see Sans throw out his balls there, immediately gadget, and GG is not going to be able to stand in their grass. And yeah, I think this is going to be the kind of game it is for Lumi, where she just leaves her balls on the map and doesn't allow GG to move up and get position. But yeah, we see Bobby and Chino moving in. They have a decent amount of position, and GG's getting pushed into this back left, which they don't want to be, because Sans will be able to leave his Morning Stars there for pretty much the rest of the game until they have to push out. Like right there, if you see. Once Sans pops that gadget, yeah, that's a kill on Nerf if I've ever seen one, and yeah, they actually get the kill on Doodle as well.
Definitely some bad mistakes from GG right there to put themselves in a position for Sans to get the freest kills of all time with those gadgets. Bobby is going to be kind of popping his stuff right there too, jumping straight in for that kill, not even going to give anybody a chance to wait for the smoke to come in. So SSG is looking a lot more like themselves this time around. Bobby popping the jump for no reason, but once again Venom is a little bit stuck, but Sans is able to drop there right there. Nerf hitting a fantastic extra damage gadget, and this is going to be a 2v3, and GG is going to get the wall break that they want with that Piper there.
Yeah, Bobby launched his Eve Pets on the thing though, and that's actually going to get them a lot of position right now, but they are in the 2v3. So let's see if GG can play out of this, play patient, play safe. Bobby and Chino aren't making it easy. They're pushing in from this left side, and Bobby's getting a lot of good hits, especially on Doodle here. Is able to jump out and survive on very little HP. Chino's going to take his shot at going for GG now, and it looks like he's going to go down, but escapes actually. And Bobby and Chino, man, they're just walking this tightrope, and they're able to pick off Piper there, and now it's a 2v2, and Bobby has his pets in the grass, which Doodle does take out. Very well played to him. But yeah, this position from Chino and Bobby, they've just had them in the back of the map the whole time, and they're able to clutch the 3v2.
That was a crazy clutch from SSG right there. When Sans drops that fast, I cannot believe that they were able to walk away with that round, but they just kept that positioning up even in a 2v3, able to keep the opponents weak and trapped. And then we got a very close-up shot of Chino here. He is absolutely locked in, but extremely well played to SSG. That's the type of response that we needed right there. In a game that looked like they were going to have to at least take it to a round number 3, they're able to get that W. So once again, SSG is going to be trying to find more of the same right here. Nerf has that gadget popped here. Maybe going to go for Sans again. We saw that worked out very well last time. But Sans is just going to be using that gadget to zone them back. So we see pretty good positioning on the side of SSG right now, but Doodle's going to be pushing up on the left side, and he's going to be making things a little bit tighter for Space Station. Yeah, a lot better positioning from GG here right now. Bobby did have to retreat for a little bit. I think he got caught by a Piper shot or two. But now SSG is getting a little more of that position they had in the first game. Sans has one of his stars on the field, sort of just denying that little choke point, not letting anyone from GG get in that grass on the right. Yep, and we're going to see Nerf is going to miss that extra range squeak gadget, so a little bit of utility out of the door right there. We see Sans has his Morning Stars up, and he is super content, just waiting for the smoke to come in. He will likely pop that the second that GG has to escape. Indeed, he does, and now all three of them are in a horrible spot, completely trapped out. They do end up getting a kill on Bobby, but their positioning is just going to be too weak to be able to break out of that spawn trap. Well played by Sans to wait for the perfect moment to be able to pop that gadget right there. Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about in the draft stage. Very well played to Venom. Ooh, Venom actually breaks the walls and then gets a double tap onto Sans. Kind of reminds me exactly of the other round that we just saw in the last game. But yeah, now it's a 3v2 once again for SSG. We'll see if they can make their way out of this one. Yeah, the positioning for GG is a lot different this time around than the last time they were able to take Sans out and get in that 3v2. So definitely looking better for them, especially as Chino falls quite weak here. Now we have a 3v1. Bobby, the lone remaining member of Space Station Gaming, likely going to fall here and bring this to a round number 3. But I mean, we saw a crazy comeback last time. Maybe Bobby's taking notes, maybe he's not. He has that hypercharge. I assume he will probably wait and save that for round number 3 here. No reason to get too cute with it, and indeed Bobby will fall to the smoke right here, throwing up the tribe pin, getting a couple spinnies in, and we're going to be tied up. Yeah, so let's see if GG can clutch up here. They need this next game to, you know, to continue in this specific set right here. But yeah, Bobby's going to toss out his Hyper Super. That's going to get some Eve babies on the board, a lot of pressure. Bobby is a little weak, has to retreat. Sans and Chino, they're hiding behind all these pets here, and now they're going to make their advance. Let's see if Sans places these stars on the field. Yep, Doodle does have his gene pool, definitely something that hasn't really been impactful yet, but obviously that's the reason you go gene, is to be able to get that pull and secure a 3v2 for your team. But he has not been in a position to be able to pull anybody as of right now, especially with those Eve babies pushing him back. But Sans is going to have a little bit more ground to deny now that that wall has been broken by the Piper. So he's likely waiting for Piper to step up to pop that gadget. We do see positioning on the side of GG. Venom does get through without the gadget being popped, and he gets the curve onto Sans. Once again, Sans is going to be the first member of SSG to fall a little bit out of position, and he's just going to be so weak to the Piper, but Doodle hits the pull, and now we are going to see this game fall into the hands of GG. We are tied up at 1 game apiece on out in the open. SSG is looking a little bit lost. Yeah, and GG's now on match point. If they win this next one, they take the whole series. So SSG, they've got to play cleaner. I think especially Sans, he does get outranged a lot, but he's got to play more carefully. Just play his life
and get those stars on the field and deny position. I can't emphasize how important that Piper jump was from Venom, breaking their grass so they can come out through the middle. And let's Sans.
Oh my god, Sans falls once again, guys. He has been the first member of SSG to hit the dirt every single time that they have lost. But once again, GG is in a 3v2. And guys, if they win this game, they are going to fully sweep Space Station Gaming right here. A result that I'm sure nobody saw coming, but it's their game to lose from this point on. Bobby's getting some good taps in, but Doodle is keeping Nerf topped up with that magic puff star power. Venom popping the curve gadget as well. Bobby is one shot. Is he going to be able to escape? He is, with the help of an Eve jump right there. His babies do finally pop, so they'll have a little bit of a saving grace with this positioning here. But Venom has that super to hand if he needs it. And there's really just no utility for the side of SSG. This is going to be a really difficult 2v3 with the positioning they have.
Yeah, now Venom has that jump. He can open up their spawn, and that Lumi and her ice gadget is going to be a lot less effective as it was in the first game where SSG won. So honestly, a pretty big fumble from SSG there with Sans dying so early.
Yeah, Bobby's going to be trying to do what he can here, but Nerf has that connection. That's going to be more than enough to take him down, and we're likely going to see Venom open up the map here. Going to make Sans' life a lot more difficult. A lot more angles that he's going to be able to be taken out from. Indeed, we do see Venom with the wall break, so things look fantastic for GG as of right now. Sans is going to eat a curve once again. Venom has just been an absolute menace on this Piper pick so far. Doodle has pull as well, as Squeak having his super online too. So if Chino or Sans step up too far, Doodle is going to be able to get a free pull and secure a 3v2 for his team. But Bobby is going to be using his positioning to try to make sure that doesn't happen. He has to jump away from the Squeak gadget. Venom also has to jump away though from Sans' ice there. So we see both teams falling pretty weak, but I mean, it seems like nothing is really going to be happening after all of that, except for SSG taking a little bit of positioning back.
Yeah, looking much better from SSG. At least Sans is alive right here. He did get Venom decently weak. I like these swaps. Sans in the middle now. He can guard both choke points. And the gas is starting to come in with SSG having the positional advantage. So let's see what happens.
The Squeak super is going to be thrown out there, but Bobby gets out of it as well as the Squeak gadget. Doodle is in a very, very compromised position, but he's going to be able to stay alive. He hits the pull on the Chino as well, but Venom is not going to be able to get that kill. And it looks like SSG is going to take game number 2. So SSG with a very, very good answer back to that question of if they're going to be able to beat GG here. Sans was able to stay alive, and that's really just been the key for Space Station, is keeping their teammates alive. The Eve Hypercharge is going to give SSG a ton of positioning right here too, as we see the entire GG roster fall back into the spawn. Chino's getting super aggro here with the Hypercharge too, and he takes out Doodle. Both other opponents are weak as well, and Sans is likely going to be able to clean this up with a Lumi super. Bobby gets the finishing touches right there, and that is going to be SSG with their backs up against the wall, barely taking set number 2. We're going to be moving on to Gold Arm Gulch.
Yeah, man, you can see how relieved Sans was there. I think he knew he was thrown a little bit in that second game. But yeah, very well played to SSG. They got their nerves under control, and they're taking this to a set 3.
Yep, we're going to have to see Gold Arm Gulch be back into play once again here, chat. But that was an amazing game from GG. I got to give it up to them, man. They are definitely the underdogs here, and they are giving SSG more than a run for their money. They look like they are, I mean, they're playing as well, if not better. I mean, I've definitely seen more mistakes come out from SSG than from GG so far. Obviously, the mechanical advantage, people would think it's going to be on Space Station's side, but they're just making a couple of absolutely brutal mistakes, and that's not going to be able to slide in set number 3. So both teams are going to be pretty nervous, I assume, going into this one. GG trying to secure their first win, and SSG trying to secure a playoff spot right now. So a lot of stakes on the line right here as we go into our draft for Gold Arm Gulch pretty soon. What are you expecting from this draft here? I mean, we didn't see any tanks in set number 2, so you think that we'll see a little bit more aggro coming into set 3?
You know, I honestly have no idea, because it seems like STMN really liked that idea in the first game, but wasn't able to perform very well at all with their double tank support comp. So I don't think that they're going to necessarily go into this next draft thinking, yeah, we've definitely got to go tank, but once again, they're all good players and can play those brawlers, so I don't think they'll be opposed to it either.
Couldn't agree more. We've seen Bobby bring out the Ollie like quite a fair amount too. I mean, I think in Hot Zone he played the Ollie every single time, so this is a map where I think Ollie could be good. We also have seen Buster and Hank and Daryl be some pretty impactful tanks right here, so maybe we'll get to see a little bit more aggression coming out here. It's another map where the water is pretty impactful as well, so those water brawlers are going to be pretty useful. Also, those Pierce brawlers, whether it be Gray or Angelo, or Mandy actually. I mean, it is a little bit crazy that we have not seen Mandy a single time yet today, considering that she is probably I mean, as far as like range 1v1 goes, there's no other brawler that you'd rather have than her, but she does get ran down by aggression, so I get why she hasn't been an earlier pick, but as a Mandy main myself, I would love to see it.
Yeah, it seems like these safer ranged brawlers are definitely being preferred, like a Gus. I mean, even that Piper that we saw Venom kind of pop off with in the last round, I think that was the first Piper we saw. We've seen a lot more Bell, Gray. So yeah, just these more safer, I would say more versatile range options are what the pros are kind of preferring right now.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the mid-range picks too have been pretty impactful, especially Squeak is one that's definitely shown his face more than a couple of times here, so I think that he could be a pretty good pick, definitely pretty solid once that smoke starts coming in as well. This is also a map where you could see a little bit of thrower action. I think that Juju and Sprout are really the two to keep your eye out for here. There's obviously a ton of grass, which extends that Juju range pretty much infinitely, so we might see a little bit of Juju, we might see a little bit of Sprout. Obviously, in the end game, the Sprout can be so impactful with those gadgets, just being able to pick up your walls and move them pretty much wherever you want. So we'll see how that ends up going here. Hopefully, we'll be able to get into this draft soon, but I mean, both teams are going to have to be super locked in here. An outdraft here could mean that SSG does not qualify for the playoffs in GKR.
Yeah, so in terms of stakes of this final game, if SSG wins, they're going to be in a pretty good spot. With a record of 3-2, which will put them pretty firmly in the playoffs. And then for GG, they will get their first win on the board of this this tournament. So pretty big stakes for both teams here.
Yeah, I mean, GG is definitely going to be trying to secure their first and only win of the tournament so far, but I mean, it has to feel good for them to even be in this position going into set 3 against a team like SSG. I mean, they had chances to secure it in set number 2, but it let it slip through their fingers, so a little bit unfortunate for them, but I mean, it still could be anyone's game for sure here. SSG, obviously, we could see the look on Sand's face, definitely feeling pretty relieved after they were able to walk away with that set victory. Definitely would have been a little bit of a tough reality to face if they had lost that one. I'm sure that the slander online would have been more than enough to make a grown man cry, but we are going to see pretty soon if SSG is going to be able to avoid the upset of the century right here. Hopefully we'll be getting this draft coming up in a sec though. There we go. Alright guys, getting into set number 3 on day 5 knockout for GKR. We have got our bans in on Gold Arm Gulch. SSG banning out Angelo, Kit, and Gus. GG is going to ban out Gene, Jae Young, and Buster. So we're seeing a lot of that long range, a lot of those support brawlers with the Kit and the Jae Young be banned out. And once again, Lumi does slip through our ban stage. So a little bit surprised to see that. But SSG is going to be snagging her up right there with the first pick of the draft. Probably going to see a similar playstyle to what we saw in set number 2 as far as the Lumi gameplay goes. Hopefully just with a couple of less early deaths.
Hey, GG, all I'm going to say is if you lose this game, then you know why. And it's because you didn't ban the Lumi, man. Like, leaving that brawler open still, it seems like the nerf, maybe pros are a little more comfortable playing into it. Or maybe GG, like you said at the beginning, is just trying out a little something to throw off SSG. Maybe they're trying to, you know, trick them into going Lumi, which I don't know why you would do that, but I mean, Gray and Squeak, two brawlers that we've seen have success throughout the day today, so I don't hate it so far. Yeah,
I mean, I think that the Gray pick is fantastic on this map. We saw it do some pretty solid work in our last matchup as well, but it's really all going to come down to hitting those hooks, and if you're able to follow up with your teammates, that could make for some absolutely fantastic kills right there. SSG is going to answer with a Bell pick. I mean, we saw Sam absolutely do numbers on the Bell earlier, so I think that's a solid pick as well, especially considering on this map, teams tend to group up more often than not. We'll likely see SSG playing on the left side and GG playing on the right side of the map, so those Bell bounces can be very impactful if you're able to get a connection there. The bounce shot gadget is going to be pretty much built for this map as well, so I definitely would not be surprised to see Bell with a pretty big impact, and unsurprisingly, we are going to see a tank come out for SSG. It's going to be the Ollie, kind of like I expected right there. Obviously, Hank and Daryl are still available, but with the Buster out of the way, I think that the Ollie is probably the pick to go with.
Yeah, I do really like that Ollie. Gonna provide a lot of space for the Bell and Lumi to work with, especially into the Squeak and Gray. Not a lot they can do into an Ollie, so we're definitely gonna have to see either a tank of their own, something aggressive, or a tank counter come in from GG. And it looks like we've got Bobby with dreads on Venom's screen here, so you know, love to see that.
Love to see a little bit of friendly competition. Venom trying to get into the heads of his opponent before this final game here. But the draft is going to finish up on GG side with a Sprout pick, so feeling a little bit vindicated with the Ollie and the Sprout. Kind of saw those coming, but I mean, there's not really a whole lot of HP or DPS on the side of GG, so I'm worried with how they're going to be able to deal with this Ollie pick from the side of SSG. I think that Space Station probably has the comp here, but if GG is able to use those Ollie walls and those gray, or the Sprout walls and the gray teleports perfectly, they might still be able to walk away with this victory. But we are getting into set number 3, guys. We are tied up at 1 set apiece between SSG and GG, and we're going to see both teams taking their respective lanes. Should be a pretty passive start.
First thing that immediately stands out to me is Bobby over here cruising around on that fast Ollie star power, which makes you fast when you're around walls. Pretty interesting choice. I do like it, especially into a Sprout. I haven't seen anyone play it in a while, so we'll see how that goes. And for GG, I do think that they're going to have to get the game over with sooner rather than later. Like, they're going to have to pressure SSG back into a place they don't want to be if they're going to want to win this game. Because I think late game, with those bell bounces, with the Lumi denial, with their gadgets, and with that just tankiness of the Ollie, I think SSG have the late game.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like once Ollie gets that super, it's going to be incredibly difficult for GG to do anything about it. We see Nerf tried to hit Bobby with that finishing blow with that extra range squeak gadget, but it's not going to work out quite yet. Sans has his Morning Stars on the field, but Chino is going to get pulled by Venom, so as the smoke comes in, it's starting to get a little bit more intense here. And we are going to see Bobby is going to be trying to clean up right now. And, oh my god, he's got the hypnosis off, and Venom is going to be the lone man standing. It was a pretty close finish right there, but SSG looked like they were on top, so they're going to be able to walk away with that victory. But pretty close round right there. I think you're right, though. GG does need to get a little bit more aggressive off rip.
Yeah, so I think that was exactly what I was talking about there. SSG just wanted to wait till Bobby gets his super, preferably when the gas is coming in, and I think they win that 9 times out of 10. Venom does have his gray super now, but no one on SSG without taking a little damage is a very appealing target for that gray to teleport in on.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're seeing once again here. We're going to see the Morning Stars up in a pretty aggressive position right here. Sans likely waiting a little bit longer to pop that gadget, but both teams are playing incredibly passive. Nerf is kind of just waiting for his extra range squeak gadget to be charged up every single time, and it's just not really working out the best for them so far. He's not really been able to get those connections. Bobby is going to be getting pressed by Doodle on the Sprout, but Bobby is not really close to getting a super quite yet, so he's going to have to kind of play pretty passive. We see the gadget pop by Sans, though. Venom in a compromised position, and he does get marked up by Chino. The smoke is starting to come in now, though, guys. This is what we all live for. The wall is out from Doodle. Sans is going to be pinched away from his teammates, but they're able to combine for a kill. Bobby goes in with the hypnosis, and that is going to be simple as ever. First game going into the hands of SSG.
Yeah, very clean from SSG. They have the Lumi advantage, and I think they have draft, if I do say so myself. I don't think the Sprout was like the best pick they could have gone, but we'll see. GG has proven me wrong all day, and they did make great adjustments in the set right before this, so we'll see what they can do this time.
Yeah, I do agree with your analysis that they probably should not be waiting for the end game. I'm a little intrigued by them continuing to go up this right-hand lane. I feel like this side-to-side gameplay is really not the best for them, so I mean, we'll see if they switch up the strategy at all, but right now Sans is going to be more than content with his Morning Star placement. Doodle is switching up his strat a little bit, going more towards the bottom, but Bobby gets pulled by Venom. He's going to have to use a gadget to escape from that. Definitely worth the use of the utility. He'll get it back quite soon. Chino goes for the bounce shot, but it's not going to connect, and we just see both teams kind of at a stalemate, but every single time this has happened, it's gone into SSG's favor at the end.
Yeah, Bobby just cruising around with his speed. I think he's just tanking a lot of shots to get his super, and then Sans is more than happy to play with no ammo for a majority of the game. Just leave his stars on the field. Does get a nice ice, but Venom just escapes. He's out of range.
And we see the wall come out from Doodle, so they're trying to play for this positioning right before the smoke is going to begin to start to really close them in here. We're probably getting towards that moment right now. Indeed, we are. Bobby is going to go in with the super gadget combo onto Nerf. He's going to get that kill, but he's quickly traded out by Doodle. Chino is going to be kind of hanging out in the middle. The hypercharge from Sprout is going to be quite impactful, and Doodle is somehow going to walk away with that. I didn't even see the hypercharge hedge, but those thorns left on the ground were actually able to secure that kill. That was a little bit crazy. I've never seen the Sprout hypercharge get quite that much value, but well played to GG. They're able to take round number 1.
Yeah, really well played there from GG, and especially to Doodle on that Sprout. He was the difference. He had that Sprout wall that sort of separated Sans and Chino from pinching, as well as that final wall, that final hypercharge wall that did end up getting the kill.
Yeah, now we're going to see them playing a little bit more on the right side from SSG, which is interesting considering that they had kind of been dominating. Bobby's going in all by himself, though. He gets both people hypnotized, and that's going to be enough for them to take the round, with Sans getting a kill on the left side. So that's going to be round number 2 going into the hands of Space Station. We are tied up at 1 apiece right here. And if SSG is able to win this, that will be game. If GG is able to win that, that will bring us to double match point right here, Pampit.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bobby was probably looking for that shield there, but he got out, got in and out, didn't die, got the kills, and that's all you need. So he's doing his thing on the speed star power here, throwing up the SSG pin. Yeah, man, they're 1 round away from taking this game, taking this set.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Bobby might have been overheating a little bit going in 1v2, but he was somehow able to connect the hypnosis even through the gray teleport, which is a interesting interaction to watch unfold. Chino does get hit by Nerf's extra range squeak gadget right there, so he's going to be a little bit weak, but in the beginning parts of this game, it's not going to be too impactful. Both teams are choosing to kind of play it safe right now and wait for the end, and that probably gives SSG the advantage considering Bobby already has his super. Sans has his Morning Stars exactly where he wants them. He will be more than happy to wait until the smoke comes in right there. He's going to pop the gadget early, though, and it looks like Doodle's going to be in a compromised position. Bobby getting ready to go with his super. The bell mark is going to be tapping, but Bobby kind of misses his jump, and that's going to leave Sans in a 1v2. Definitely not going to be easy for him, and he is going to fall. That is going to bring us to double match point. SSG and GG. Whoever wins this next game is going to walk away with the victory here. Well played to be able to bring that back.
There we go. Venom very pleased with themselves, and they should be, man. They're taking SSG all the way, and this last game, it's for all of it.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate mistake by Bobby there, getting caught out at the very end of that round, but the winner of this is going to take it all. GG's looking for their first win in GKR. SSG looking to extend their position on the leaderboard, secure that playoff spot, but we've got a great matchup ahead of us, guys. This has been an electric set so far, much more electric than any of us could have predicted, so we are going to see Sans continue to get his Morning Star set up, trying to keep Doodle out of that position that he was so dominant in the last game, so makes a lot of sense for SSG strategically. Doodle is going to have to play very safe here. He is 1 click of a green button away from getting trapped.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning, I thought SSG had the advantage if they waited towards the end, but it seems like GG sort of flipped that on its head, especially with these sprout walls from Doodle. Like, he's just been playing them perfectly at the perfect time to just box out SSG basically from where they want to be when the gas starts coming in. So it looks like Bobby is going to try experimenting with running around that bottom side. Doesn't have too much super, I would imagine, yet.
Yeah, it seems like as we move into the end part of this game, Bobby is going to have to kind of make a play on his own for the super. They're going to pinch out Nerf, though, and that is going to leave SSG in a 3v2 so far, but Chino is quick to fall, and that is going to be round number 1. Going into the hands of SSG. Sans kind of carried at the end of that round, so well played. And they are just one singular round away from taking home this W. GG once again back against the wall. Bobby's going to go in, though. He's putting it all on the line right here. He gets 2 people stunned, but he does fall. Luckily for him, Chino's able to clean up a little bit. And after all of that, we see Sans and Chino walk away with their life. And it is just going to be Venom on the gray up for GG. This is going to be a very tough one for him to walk away with.
Yeah, I love that play from SSG. Since they're up 1 round, they can afford to be a little riskier in the second round, so they decide to sneak up that enemy right side, which no one has done all game in these 3 games. So they definitely catch, Bobby definitely catches all 3 of them by surprise, does go down in the process, but Chino and Sans are there to clean up the scraps, leaving SSG in a 2v1 now.
Yep, Venom is going to be doing what he can here. He walks up a little bit aggressive with the gadget, kind of a desperation play right there. But he is not going to be able to connect right there. He's throwing up the GG pin. Oh my goodness, look at him go. It's so fun that he's got a spray for his team. But I mean, he is up against the wall here. He knows this is going to be more or less impossible to pull off. But you never know. Never say never, but I will say it right now. Chino and Sans able to clean up the 2v1 and give SSG the victory on day 5 of GKR. They are going to move up to 3-2 on the leaderboards. Unfortunately for GG, they do fall to 0-5, but in my opinion, man, I think that both teams won today. GG looks fantastic, and they were able to push a fantastic team to a set 3, a double match point, so definitely can walk away feeling proud of themselves for that, even though it's not going to show up on the leaderboard. They definitely earned some points in our hearts.
Yeah, definitely, and STMN, GG's to those guys. Love to see them do well, and love to see them, doing well before a monthly final where they do have to perform this upcoming Sunday. But yeah, GG, definitely a team with a lot of potential, and I do see them I do see them, maybe not this year, but definitely in the next coming years, definitely a force to be reckoned with in BSC.
I think so too. I mean, there's some great players, and they proved that today, guys. But that's going to wrap it up for this game. We are going to be moving into our next game pretty soon here, LLC eSport versus Kansas City Pioneers. But before we get into that, guys, we are going to take a quick 3-minute break. We will be right back with some more GKR action. All right, guys, we are back for our match number 4 coming up right here. We have got LLC eSport versus Kansas City Pioneers. For our next match of the day, we have LLC sitting at 2-2 on the leaderboard so far. Their hallmark win was that week 1 against SSG that they were able to walk away on top, but they have since then fallen a little bit back to earth at 2-2 so far. Pioneers, on the other hand, they started out 3-0 and then have since lost their last game to SSG, in fact. So they're going to be sitting at 3-1, still at the top of the leaderboards, but not with that perfect record that they were looking for. So we've got two teams coming off of losses that are going to be looking to bounce back a little bit. What do you think that we should expect from this match, Pimp?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm expecting a great game. We got LLC eSports, a new team in NA, like new organization, as well as a lot of new players that people might not be very familiar with. And then on the other hand, we have the Pioneers, which everyone should be familiar with if you've watched Brawl eSports over the past, like, since it was a thing pretty much. We got Fade, Tyrant, and Zulon, staples in the NA region. But yeah, LLC eSport, they've definitely been looking good all year. And they are a team that, like, I would have my eye on to qualify for a monthly final.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, they're the other team out of Mexico along with STMN. So both of those Mexican teams have been performing pretty well. I do think that LOC is a team that could pull off an upset. We saw them pull off the upset against SSG. Will they be able to do it against Pioneers, though? When these two teams first met in GKR, we did see Pioneers walk away pretty easily on top of that. So obviously that's going to leave a bad taste in the mouth of LOC eSports. They're going to have to see if they're able to bounce back this time around. But I mean, Pioneers is one of those teams that I think that although they are fantastic players, sometimes they do leave a little bit on the table as far as drafts goes. They are pretty much, I feel like they're pretty comfortable playing with some pretty safe options in draft more often than not. So maybe LOC will be able to capitalize on that, catch them a little bit off guard, kind of like what we saw GG do with the Kit Monkey strategy.
Yeah, and to that point again, for the Pioneers, it's kind of interesting, and another reason I really like watching them play is they all have their specific roles, with Zulon being on that more ranged or squishy brawler most of the time, Tyrant playing a mid-range, and Fade, of course, on those tanks. And of course, they don't always stick to that, but that's about usually how it goes. But yeah, let's look at these bans, and the first pick of Gene coming in.
Yup, we're going to have our bans. It's going to be Kit, Ollie, Daryl. So LOC is going to be trying to get out all of those aggressive combinations right there. I do like the strategy. Pioneers banning out Lumi, Piper, and a double Kit ban. So very interesting stuff there. We see first pick is going to be Gene, followed up by Pioneers taking a Gus. So we're going to see some of these more ranged brawlers come out earlier in the draft. Likely we'll see a little bit more aggro coming out later. But with the Ollie, Kit, and Daryl banned out, I feel like only Buster and Hank are kind of the only two remaining options that we could see here. So we'll see what Pioneers chooses to pair up with this Gus. Kind of expecting a little bit more of a safe pick, of a ranged pick. But it is going to be a... They're really dragging this one out on me. I guess we'll see it in a second. It's a gray. It's a gray. So I think that makes a lot of sense right there. Fantastic brawler with that utility of the wall pull and the gadget. So I think that it's a pretty safe pick, and I really like what Pioneers is putting on the table so far.
Gus, Gray, and Gene, man. The triple G's of Knockout, which we have seen get drafted in like every game so far. For good reason. Very safe brawlers, very well-rounded, and great in Knockout. We see the Buster following up for LOC eSport. A lot of synergy between Gene and Buster, as they can both, like, you know, Gene can heal you while also charging that Buster super. So a lot of synergy there. I don't know if this is my favorite map for Buster, just because there's not a lot of grass. You're pretty out in the open, exposed. But should be a decent option into especially a Gray who's wanting to teleport, as well as a Gus once you get that shield.
I think it's going to be kind of indicative of how they want to play this game. I feel like they'll play it pretty passive with the Gene and Buster kind of hanging out, charging that Buster super, getting those heals from the Magic Puff. So I think that's kind of showing what strategy they're going for. I think they will be pretty grouped up, especially considering they're going to finish up their draft with a Jae Young. So they've got two brawlers that are able to support Buster with his HP. So it seems like they might just be fully juicing up that Buster unless they get a Gene pull, but they're definitely going to be playing pretty tightly together, and it's going to make it difficult for these low DPS options that Pioneers are bringing to the table to be able to confirm any kills, and that's what they're bringing out this last pick for. We do see the Hank. I think that makes perfect sense right there. They need somebody who can apply that pressure, get that damage for those finishing kills. I think that Pioneers kind of clutched up this draft.
Yeah, I do really like that Hank pick. It's going to be good into the Buster if the Buster tries to pull you in. As well as dealing very well with the Jae Young and Gene, because they might not have the DPS to deal with that Hank too well.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. I feel like Pioneers are probably going to be trying to play this a little bit more aggressively than LOC is, considering that the LOC comp kind of revolves around getting Buster Shields and Gene pulls loaded up, whereas KCP kind of can just go in, use their Gray gadgets, and use those Hank bubbles to try and get a kill here. We do see Roladu already getting pulled, but also Kirito is going to pull Fade right there. Wow. Tyrant barely able to walk away, but he does end up getting a fadeaway shot on Roladu. So already KCP in a 3v2, positioning on the side of Kansas City Pioneers as well. Kirito and Squeezy have their work cut out for them here.
Yeah, I thought Tyrant was getting a little too greedy there, but it was all calculated. He absolutely just hits, who was it? Gene at the end of his Gray range there. Gets another nice pull. Does have his super. Yeah, Fade has just kind of had them pushed back all game, and they get the finishing blows. And yeah, KCP will take this first round.
Fade has not shown a single sign of being scared of death here. He is just going up with all of that HP that the Hank has to offer. Also with that super, he's able to replenish that kind of whenever he needs to. Doesn't even have to use it for damage, especially considering this comp that LOC has right here. But we do see Roladu has his super online. With the help of that Jae-Young speed, it could make it a lot easier for him to hit that pull. We see Pioneers putting a good amount of respect on Roladu with the Gene here. They are playing very passive as to avoid getting Gene pulled right here. So we're going to see a little bit of pushing up now from Kansas City Pioneers, but they are definitely respecting that pull.
Yeah, everyone with their super on the map right now. Jae-Young pretty much always has a super. But yeah, we've got the Hyper Super from Tyrant if he wants that. Hyper Super for Kirito. Whenever he decides to use that. Ooh, Roladu almost gets taken out there. And they get pushed back into their spawn once again. Kirito is going to start pushing out with this Buster Shield. Tyrant shooting at that. And the Gene pull just misses the gray there. And now they're back to square one without any utility.
Super unlucky for Roladu there. He's going to lose all of his utility. But Squeezy and Kirito are trying to keep their team in the mix right there. The Buster Hyper Shield is going to do some good work, but Kansas City Pioneers are going to converge at the last second. Definitely very well played to Pioneers. There was a couple moments where they could have been on the back foot. They did a great job of avoiding those Gene pulls, though. And once the Gene pull is gone, the comp is definitely in favor of KCP. So, I mean, I think they did a great job avoiding their lose condition and just kind of holding it down until it was time to converge there. We're going to have to see a Gene pull connect if LLC is going to win this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I always forget how good Hank is into that Buster as well. It's almost like when Buster has that Hyper Super, it's almost like an aiming reticle for Hank to just put his bubble into. And that's exactly what Fade did, and it secured them the round. So they're up 1-0 in this set so far. Let's see how LLC will respond.
Yep, we have Kirito already with that Buster Shield online. Likely not going to be using that until it's time to push out of the smoke here, but we have a Cookie Popper down as well. Fantastic positioning on that gadget for Zulon, but we're going to see LLC kind of just completely fading that lane. Kirito pops up a shield, but the only person near him was Fade, who, as we have stated, is kind of able to ignore that. He's going to fall for that, and maybe a little bit of a misplay right there, but that is going to hurt LLC quite a fair amount. Just Roladu and Squeezy left here, but I don't see a way that they have the damage to take out Fade. Even if they were able to take out Zulon and Tyrant, we see Roladu fall next, likely just trying to get a little bit closer to his Gene pull. Squeezy is going to be going into the spawn right here. That is going to be round number 1 going to KCP. They are 1 round away from taking set 1.
Yeah, once again, I'm still not liking this Buster, who is usually a very good knockout brawler, can charge up that super for free, of course, but not necessarily my favorite on this map. And there's not really anyone for Kirito to be able to pull in with his super as well, especially once Gray has that shield or Gray has that super and Gus has that shield. Not very many targets for Kirito to be pulling in. And then I do think LLC's comp lacks that DPS overall to deal with KCP here.
Yeah, Fade is definitely going to be a pretty tanky option for them to be able to eliminate. But Roladu has his super. Kirito pops his Hyper Shield. So they're going to be moving up quite aggressively here, just waiting for Roladu to let that pull rip. But he is being very, very safe with it this time around. Obviously, Tyrant has an escape mechanism, so unlikely to go for him. But if he's able to pull Zulon, that would likely be his desired target. The Jae-Young is going to switch into speed mode, so they're trying to get Roladu in a position to get this pull, but they have not been able to find it yet.
Yeah, KCP doing very well to just take things slow. And although I don't like the Buster, I do think Kirito's playing pretty well. We got a pull coming in from the Gene, and Fade is staying alive somehow, does go down. They're very weak. Tyrant teleports in on the Buster, takes him out. We got a Hyper pull in from the Gene. So many things are going down, and Zulon, I think he was just full HP that whole time, just patiently waits, cleans up, and Tyrant, he's just a ninja on that Gray, teleporting all over the place.
Tyrant did such a good job teleporting behind the Buster Shield to be able to secure that round, and like you said, there was so much action going on, none of it concerning Zulon. He was able to stay healthy for the very end of that game, so Pioneers walking away with a set 1 victory. I do think that they had the draft, but also at the same time, they just played it very, very well. Cool, calm, and collected, as we expect from these veteran players. They were able to walk away with the victory in that game.
Yeah, and moving on to round number 2, or game number 2. As far as stakes go for these two teams, they're both tied at 3-1 right now in the GKR tournament. So a win here is going to be huge, and will put them in first, I think. Yeah, barring the results from Code OG and Elevate. So yeah, massive stakes here.
Yeah, definitely massive stakes here. LOC has got to feel a little bit of pressure after that way that first game went. I think that the Buster into the Hank was probably not the play right there. Obviously, they drafted the Buster first, but they've got to be aware that the Hank was on the board, and I feel like that 1v1 interaction, I think that did kind of make the difference. The Hank was a superior tank in that matchup, so we saw a very good draft coming out from KCP. We're going to have to see a little bit of more forward thinking from LLC if they want to win on map number 2, guys, which is going to be out in the open. A little bit more of an open map. Bell's Rock is probably the cagiest knockout map that we have in the rotation here today. So we're going to see a little bit more sniper action. And that's kind of just what I'm expecting here. Like Angelo, Eve, Gene, Gus, all those brawlers that we're so used to seeing.
So we do have our bans in, and from LLC eSports going to be Brock, Lumi, Angelo, very good bans, and then Jay Young, Bell, and Lou from Pioneers. So all bans that we've seen throughout the day. Even that Lou who was banned out by SSG in the previous matchup. So it looks like Pioneers are going to be eyeing a tankier option. In my mind, that speaks to a Hank or Buster, especially in knockout. But they do go with the first pick, Gene, and LLC respond with a Kit.
Interesting stuff with the early kit. Guys, just to refresh your memory as well, this Bell's Rock map in the middle is not what we are playing on. It is, in fact, out in the open, so apologies for the graphic error on that. But we have the Gene coming out with the Kit and the Gus. That Kit Gus is a 2-3 turn that we've seen a couple of times today, so I do think that they're probably taking that Kit, looking to pair it up with a tank in the later parts of the draft, but we've seen that the Kit Gus can be a pretty tanky option right there, especially once Gus gets that shield. It is going to be pretty difficult to take him out. Pioneers going with a Buster, though, so it seems like they are going to be taking the Buster Gene synergy that we saw LLC not be able to capitalize on in set number 1. I do still think it's a fantastic combo, though. Hard to go wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think this might be a visual glitch right now, but we are out in the open, if I'm right.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely think the Buster is going to be a better pick there. Has some grass to maneuver around in. And yeah, we see the Gene and Buster once again, and then we see a Max. Not the most popular pick, especially nowadays in Knockout and Bounty, but once again has great synergy with the Gene and Buster. So we're going to see all the Pioneers, Brawlers, players be sticking around close to each other. And then we got the Daryl last pick for LLC, which, I mean, I think is a great last pick, does pretty well into Max, and is good into Buster and Gene as well.
I'm mostly looking at the Daryl as a Kit synergy brawler right there. They've got the Classico combination of the Cat Daryl, and they've got a Gus shield to throw on top of that, so we might see some diabolical Daryl rolls here. I do think that Pioneers had to have probably seen that coming with the pick of the Max right there. Obviously going to be looking to use that speed once they start going in, but we are into set number 2, guys. KCP was able to take game number 1, so if they're able to win this set, that would be a sweep. LLC trying to prevent that from happening, but they are getting pushed back pretty far into their spawn off rip here.
Yeah, it's going to happen, especially for Rolladoo on that Daryl there. Has to build up that super. KCP is not going to feed him a lick of that, so they're going to be waiting for that. Yeah, we do see Fade with his Buster super at the ready. We do have the Cat jumping on the Daryl, and a lot of big hits coming from the Cat and Gus. They're very weak on the side of KCP,
goodness. And
yeah, Kirito is not missing on that Cat there. Rolladoo didn't even have to go in. He just had to get close enough for Kirito to get those Cat Kit hits, and then wow, what a pull from Zulon, and now it's a 2v2.
It looked like he was going for Rolladoo, but he actually pulled Squeezy, who is pretty obviously the more advantageous player for them to hit that pull on, so maybe Rolladoo should have tanked that, maybe not, but it's going to be a 2v2 going into the end of this game. Max and Gene versus Cat Daryl, but Kirito misses jump.
Wow.
That is going to complicate things for LLC. Zulon has his pull, but he misses. That's going to be devastating. Rolladoo might be able to clean this up. He's knocked back by the Gene, and now it is just Kirito versus Tyrant. He doesn't even need to jump. The Cat's going to walk away on top. That is going to be round number 1 falling into LLC's hands.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say, amazing job from LLC to not get dispirited there once. I thought it was done once Kirito missed that jump on Rolladoo, but they played it slow, and then, yeah, they are able to come out on top of that 2v2 despite the Kit not being on the back of the Daryl to do it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they won that after that little bit of a misclick from Kirito and Rolladoo, but they're going to be able to walk away with that. Once again, we see KCP with the spawn trap going already. Tyrant pops the hypercharge and the hyper gene pull, and that is going to quickly dismantle Rolladoo. LLC is left with their 2 squishy brawlers, and this is going to be very difficult, especially with a full HP Buster running into their spawn right there. Kirito knows what is impending, and that is going to be him falling. I am not quite sure why Zulon went for that pull there, but I guess that they'll take the W where they can get it.
Yeah, I think he goes for that pull because they want the Daryl out of the way before Kit's able to jump on top of him. It is always scary pulling a Daryl in. Is this live?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we jump in right into it, and KCP are gone.
That was an insane round 3. I have no idea what even happened there. I low-key thought the game was over because Zulon went for that pull at the end of round 2, but that's the utility that I was talking about. He wasted it, and that's going to be LOC taking full advantage with a very quick comeback in game number 3. Absolutely insane stuff from LOC, and we're going to have to see KCP bounce back a little bit harder here. Definitely some a little bit of a lack of defense from them. They just got absolutely ran down in round number 3 of knockout. So we're going to be moving into game number 2 right now. LOC with a little bit of an advantage, and Zulon looks like he might have some connection issues, but somehow they still take out Squeezy. What is going on here?
Yeah, that was like a 2v3 right there with Zulon just standing there, but KCP is still able to get that kill. We got the cat on top of the Daryl. We'll see if he can do any damage, and I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of like this Max as a response to the kit, because one of the best ways to counter this kit Daryl is to just run away from it when it's coming towards you, and then that's what Max provides there. So Daryl rolling in, nice knockback from Gene, and now it's a 3v2 with just Kirito remaining on that kit.
Yup, not much Kirito is going to be able to do about this one. Even with Zulon having some potential connection issues, that is still going to be a pretty free round win for KCP. So they've got the positioning here. They have got a round lead above LLC, but they are still down in the set, so definitely a must win here. We've got the Buster Shield getting popped quite early though, but the Cat Daryl is going in. Kirito's gonna have to line up these yarn balls here. He is connecting quite well. Roladu's getting him into a good position to get some damage out, but so far not too much to speak of. Zulon hits the pull, and that is going to be Roladu falling, so 2v3 action. Kirito is next to fall, and unless Squeezy is able to do the impossible, that is going to be Kansas City Pioneers taking game number 2. They're going to tie up this set at 1 apiece.
Yeah, once again, I'm loving this Max pick into the Kit Daryl, because once Kit jumps on Daryl's back, the Pioneers all get together, they get max speed, and they run away and spread out. And then, you know, what is Kit and Daryl really going to be able to do once Daryl's exhausted all those rolls? They're not able to catch up, and Tyrant is playing wonderful on this Max here.
Could not agree more. I feel like it's also good because you have that dash to be able to get away from a Kit jump if the Kit chooses to jump on you, which is not a strategy we've seen Kirito employ as of yet, but maybe he'll be able to get into that. Right now they are getting fully pushed back. As we get into game number 3 of set number 2, this is going to be match point for Kansas City Pioneers if they're able to walk away with this, and they are trying to finish it off right here and now. They're going up full positioning for them. Fade popping that super as well. Not really much to get out of it, but Squeezy's going to be quite weak. Tyrant is holding it down in the back. Roladu does have his roll online now, though, with the Cat 2 and the juke out of the Gene pull. So now the utility is in the hands of LOC. They have great positioning. Roladu still has one more roll online as well. He's opting not to use it quite yet, though. They're going to fall back into the spawn as KCP staves off that push.
Yeah, nice patience from KCP here. Once again, they're just running away from this Kit super. Now Roladu only has one roll left, and Kirito is waiting on that Kit super. So let's see what happens. Roladu rolling in on that Daryl. Tyrant is able to chip him down quite a bit, and Roladu does go down with the remaining members of LLC being really weak. Kit jumps on the back of Gus, and we'll see what they can do here.
He's going to get pulled right there, but that's unfortunate. They are going to fall right there. So KCP 1 round away from finishing this. If you noticed in the last round too, it looked like Squeezy barely missed his shield onto Roladu. Might have been enough to keep Roladu alive a little bit longer to secure the 2v2, but very unfortunate stuff. Those Gus shields are quite difficult to hit, but you got to hit that one in this situation. Once again, we see full positioning from KCP, pushing LLC back into the spawn right now. Squeezy has his hypercharge shield, and he's going to equip that onto Roladu, who is going in with vengeance right here. He's going to get 1 kill. He's going to get 2 kills, and that should be Zulon next to fall. He does have pull online. Not going to choose to waste it quite yet. So now we are at 1 round apiece, 1 game apiece in this set right here. If KCP wins this, they walk away with everything. But if they lose and LLC comes out on top, we're going to be tied up going into set 3.
Yeah, I like the targeting of Max from the Daryl, who goes in once again. KCP all standing next to each other. Max dashes away, uses a hyper super, and look at the switch of positioning. It looks like each other's spawns have just switched. And you know the players are playing upside down now at this point, so pretty interesting from that. Zulon does have his pull. Once again, amazingly played from Tyrant. A brick of a super from Zulon there. Fade does have his super and is starting to push in. Just such crazy positioning from both teams right now.
Yeah, you don't see this too often. You know they are playing completely upside down at this point. Might have been a contributing factor into Zulon missing his super, but Kirito also misses his jump onto Roladu. They're going to have to buy some more time as they wait for the Cat to get the jump back, but that is devastating as the smoke is starting to close in. LLC does not have time for a mistake like that, and now they're going to be pushed back pretty hard. KCP with Fade has this pull still popped right there. That is almost enough to take out Kirito, but he gets onto Roladu's back. He's going to be going in. That's going to be Zulon falling. Squeezy died as well, so it's going to be a 2v2 Cat Daryl versus Buster Max. They're going to roll in right there, and it looks like LLC is going to take a surprising victory over the Kansas City Pioneers. That is going to be 1 set per team.
God damn, that was well played by LLC. Just way to remain calm by Kirito. Sometimes, what I will say, those kit jumps when you're jumping like 0.5 tiles away from your teammate there, those are sometimes the hardest to hit, man. It's like a layup. Sometimes it's hard to hit. I think he did miss a few during that set, but they're able to come out on top and push us to a set 3.
That was crazy stuff to see, man. I love to see it, bro. Going into another set 3 here, KCP versus LLC. I definitely thought that Kansas City Pioneers had a couple of chances to close out in set number 2, but whether you want to say that they sold or LLC clutched, either way, we are moving into game number 3 now on Gold Arm Gulch. Pretty fun map for this to take place on too, and after we just saw the teams play upside down, we're going to get to see them play side to side.
Yeah, here we go into Gold Arm Gulch again, which honestly, we've been seeing like a good amount of mix between the out in the open and Bell's Rock metas where there's a lot of range, throwers involved, and then also tanks. So a little bit of everything on this map, whereas out in the open, I think it's been a little more tank oriented and Bell's Rock has been more range.
Yeah, I think that we probably, I'm definitely expecting a little bit more Kit Daryl, honestly. I feel like it's been like most of the sets that we've seen of Daryl, the Daryl has walked out on top, so I think that's got to be something that teams are taking into account. Obviously, the Kit pick has been fantastic as well. We've seen him picked early, we've seen him banned early, so I think that's something that we might see fall into the equation one more time here, but a lot of different options that you can go with on Gold Arm Gulch. Some other strategies too, like maybe the Mandy, I don't know, maybe it's wishful thinking, but I feel like we're overdue for a Mandy game at some point here. I don't know, maybe I'm just glazing her a little bit too hard, but I would love to see it personally. No Nani today either.
Yeah, no, and before we do get into the bans and draft of the next round, I will say, shout out chat, love you guys, I do see you guys. Thank you for all the support and all that. But yeah, other than that, sorry, what was your question right before that?
I was asking if you think we'll see any Mandy or Nani today, or if that's just kind of out of the meta with this current pro strategies.
It's pretty interesting because, so I think the Nani isn't being picked because those ranged brawlers aren't sort of getting picked, especially like things like Piper and like Angelo's been banned out a lot. And that's really what Nani's made to counter. If you can't really use that head to get people low or get damage, like Nani's not gonna be that useful. The Mandy is a little more interesting because I feel like, especially with Mandy's like Pierce and Hypercharge, which did get nerfed recently. Yeah, I thought Mandy would be a lot more prevalent, but especially with these tankier comps and first picks like Jean, Gray, things like Buster and Hank coming out like every map, I do think that isn't as good for Mandy to be successful.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Unfortunately, obviously, I would still pick the Mandy there, but that's why I'm hard stuck Masters 1. So I guess we'll see how this draft ends up unfolding. LLC is going with the Gus and the Buster. So we've seen a lot of Gene Buster. Now we're going to see some Gus Buster. Still definitely a pretty solid combination. Obviously, any tank paired with a Gus that you can get that shield to is going to be quite impactful. Definitely a pretty good endgame comp as well, but we've seen it once and we'll see it again. The Hank into the Buster. We saw this work for Pioneers in set number 1, and honestly, I really do like this in favor of Pioneers. Obviously, with that Daryl banned out, I think the Hank is definitely the next best option, especially into that Buster. He just does not get impacted by that shield at all.
Yeah, once again, we see this Lu ban, which is immediately an indicator that that team is going to want to go tanks. And Pioneers take that Hank, which is, I think, one of the best performing tanks in Knockout at the moment. And then we see the Squeak. Again, another pretty well-rounded brawler, which is going to be able to do pretty well into Gus. We've seen a lot of Squeak this today as well, and it's been having some pretty decent results.
Yeah, Squeak is definitely a pretty well-rounded brawler. You got a lot of damage if you're able to connect that gadget, and the supers are incredibly impactful at the end game, especially on a map like Gold Arm where there's still going to be a lot of walls in the middle, so even when that smoke is coming through, there's still going to be walls up to hide behind. So we'll see how this goes right here. LLC has one more pick, and it's going to be the Sprout. So pretty similar draft to what we saw in the SSG versus GG set. Definitely expecting the Sprout to play pretty cautiously and then just kind of spam up those walls at the end of the game to secure that positioning when the smoke starts coming in. So I like the draft from both teams. I think, in my opinion, though, the Hank versus Buster advantage is going to have me leaning a little bit towards Pioneer's side.
And LOC is going to have to hope that the Sprout evens that disadvantage back up. Sprout is going to be able to sort of have his way on the map until Gene gets that pull. So I think it's going to be big on LLC to not feed that Gene pull too quickly.
Yep, we're going to see a little bit of aggression coming out from KCP, though, pushing up their opponent's lane, but Tyrant hits the shot onto both members of LLC, and that is going to be a early death for their tank. Not the person that they wanted to lose, even if they could have had a 2v3. This is definitely not the lineup they want the 2v3 with, and this round is easily Pioneers to lose, so going to be very difficult for them to have the damage to take out Fade. He should be able to have his way with them, but obviously they don't want to be selling here, but they've definitely got a huge advantage after that early pick.
Yeah, and as we watch through this 2v3, I will say I really love that start from KCP with Zulon sort of coming down the top of the enemy lane, LOC's lane. So he's able to scout out that entire bush, and Tyrant's able to get an easy squeak gadget onto, it looked like all three of them, at least two of them. So yeah, just an explosive start to the game, and we'll see if what adjustments each side makes.
We see how both teams go left in round one. Both teams are going right in round two, and we're going to see some similar action coming down. Rolladoo weak once again to Tyrant's gadget, and Fade has them all trapped back here with the big bubble. That Sprout wall is going to buy them a little bit of time, but Rolladoo is super pinched, and he is going to fall to Tyrant. Once again, we see a 2v3, a little bit more favorable for LOC than it was last time, considering they at least have Kirito still alive, but I don't see a way that they can kill Fade. He is just continuing to charge in here with these big bubbles. Kirito is the last member remaining. He's doing all he can, but it's more than likely not going to be enough. One more bubble from Fade on the Hank should be able to do it, but Kirito's taking his time right here with the death. He is not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, LLC just honestly looking pretty lost in that first round there. So we'll see if they adjust. I think they got to take things a lot slower, maybe spread out a little more, because that squeak is just posing some problems for them right now.
Yeah, I do think they got a little bit unlucky because the game they went left, Pioneers went left. The game they went right, Pioneers went right, and that is just complete luck of the draw. Obviously, neither team knows which lane the other opponents are going to be occupying, so we see LLC on the left this time, and it looks like KCP is going to spread it out a little bit this time, but Tyrant is dialed in with those gadgets. He hits the Tom Brady onto Rolladoo, and once again, LLC is going to be super pinched back in their own spawn. They have a little bit of a better positioning this time around, but Rolladoo is going to be quite weak, and Squeezy's doing all he can to keep positioning, but he gets hit with another squeak gadget.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, I'm just seeing less and less value from this Sprout. I really don't know what he's supposed to do into a Squeak and Gene who can keep their distance decently well, and then a Hank who, let's face it, a Sprout is not going to be able to kill a Hank very easily, especially without help from his teammates. So we do see LLC with a little bit of a different position, a lot more spread out, which I think is good. But yeah, we'll see how things go. This is definitely the furthest they've lasted into a game with all three of them so far.
Yeah, they finally got a lick of hope right here. Rolladoo has his wall, Squeezy has his shield. Everyone except for Kirito has their super on the side of LLC. No supers for KCP too as this smoke starts closing in. Tyrant's going to lob his onto Kirito. Kirito goes in with the gadget, but he's going to have to back off early. He gets pulled as well, and Fade is going to absolutely clean this up very easily. For the side of Kansas City Pioneers, they are one singular round away from winning in the third set right here. LOC is going to have to find an answer. They have yet to take a single round off of Kansas City Pioneers in this set.
Yeah, this draft is looking pretty 100-0 right now. Once again, like, I don't know what this... Honestly, I don't know what any of them are supposed to do into this Hank here. What's killing the Hank? Especially with his super now, I'm sure he's working towards that hyper, which the Squeak already has up at the top. But on the side of LLC, we do have hypers from Sprout and Gus as well, so we'll see how they employ those.
I think if they're going to take out the Hank, they're going to have to get some crazy value with some hypercharged shots coming out of Rolladoo and Squeezy, but so far, we're not going to see any of that quite yet. The smoke is starting to close in, and Rolladoo is using that to dominate this positioning on the right-hand side. This is the first time that we've seen Pioneers a little bit spawn-trapped, but they're going to break out of that momentarily. Zulon falls quite weak, though, and he is a singular shot from Rolladoo away from death, but Fade knows that he's going to step in, play a little bit of defense for his teammate, and the smoke is starting to close in, guys. We need LLC to win this in order to stay alive a little bit longer. Rolladoo pops the hyper, and Tyrant is going to be the first to fall, but he takes Rolladoo with him. Squeezy and Kirito holding down this positioning. Zulon completely zoned out. Kirito also blocks the Fade super, and finally, LLC walks away with the round. They really had to pull out all the stops to get that.
Yeah, nicely played from LLC, especially since Gene didn't have pull, which is where they have to win. Zulon does have that pull now, which will make it a lot harder for LLC to do the same thing they just did in that previous round.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Zulon is going to save that pull for the end game or get a little bit freaky and try to hit an early pull. Rolladoo is already getting quite pressured back, though. He's going to be forced to use his super to keep Tyrant away from him. Tyrant, I'm sure, just waiting for that next extra range gadget that he's been so dialed in on this entire set. He's holding down perfect positioning, though. LLC are falling back a little bit into their spawn. Rolladoo, there's not much he can do in this situation. The squeak spawn trap is so real.
Yeah, we're back to this left to right gameplay that we do see often on this map. I think this definitely gives the advantage to KCP. Zulon falling a little low there, but Rolladoo's also low. Tyrant flashing that pull. We'll see. Tyrant does miss a gadget right there, I think. Yeah, just great positioning from KCP right now. All of LOC has their backs against the smoke right now as it starts to come in.
The Squeak Super is online, and Zulon has been saving this pull for that moment. He gets Squeezy, and that is going to be a combination kill. Kirito is next to fall, but the wall is there from Rolladoo. It's not over yet. He might be able to kill Fade. He does, and he actually takes the 1v2. Rolladoo with some diabolical Sprout plays. I can't believe that they were able to walk away with that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I can't believe that either. I think that was a little bit of a misposition from Fade, who decided to go back towards Zulon a little bit and then go around the wall, which just did not work out. Spectacularly played from LLC. They beat the Gene pull. They beat all that positioning that KCP had when, I mean, they were weak and the smoke was coming in. They were all on that left side, and I did not see how they were going to get out of that.
That was an insane win. We saw Rolladoo clutch up so hard to bring us to a double match point, guys. The winner of this game will take home the entire match, so we're going to have to see Kansas City Pioneers lock in a little bit harder than that. I do agree that that was an unfortunate little bit of hesitation there from Fade to be able to bring that round into the hands of LLC. But Kirito is going on a solo mission right now, trying to see what he can do. He gets Fade weak, but not going to be able to confirm any kills there. Squeezy getting some more taps in. We see Pioneers are definitely on the back foot right now, but I don't really see a way that any of their teammates fall here. Rolladoo's going to have to play a defensive wall to buy himself a little bit of time, especially since Kirito's kind of still doing his own thing.
Yeah, KCP looked to be a little bit in a scary spot for a second there, but now they're all just in the middle while LSC sort of surrounds them right here. But KCP's going to be able to take out the Sprout in the corner. Tyrant's lobbing his super, does miss against Kirito, but Fade is chasing him away with his bubble, and they're able to clean this one up pretty easily. I
don't know about that Buster Hypercharge. Didn't really get too much out of that, but we see, once again, Pioneers going to be in the driver's seat right now. One singular round away from winning this, but if LLC gets a win, then we will move on to double, triple, whatever you want to call it, match point. So this is definitely the last stand for LLC unless they're able to walk away with the W here. Tyrant, once again, so dialed in with those squeak gadgets. He has connected such a ridiculous percentage of those, and Squeezy is going to be forced to fall back. Kirito kind of all on his own once again. Not really too sure if he's planning on regrouping with his teammates here, but they are pretty spawn trapped, so I respect him holding this positioning. Zulon has that pull, though. Definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, winning this set for KCP and LLC. This means they would be in first. Things are starting to go down now. Squeezy does go down to Fade on the Hank bubble, who now starts chasing Rolladoo, who's weak in the corner, and I think KCP have this cleaned up.
They most likely do. That is going to be unfortunate for LLC. I do think that they played about as well as they could with this draft, but it's Kirito, the last man standing, and he is going to fall to a fish torpedo snipe from Fade. So very, very well played to Pioneers. Definitely a lot closer than they were hoping it would be in that third set, but they walk away with the W nonetheless. Moving into 4-1 at the top of the leaderboard, our first team in GKR to win 4 games.
Yeah, great series right there, as they all have been throughout the day, but I think this one had the most at stake for each of the teams, as yeah, like you said, Pioneers are now 4-1, sitting in sole possession of first place right now. And LOC will fall. They're still in a good spot. They're at 3-2, and they're most likely going to make the playoffs, but I'm sure they wanted that first spot.
Yeah, definitely feels a little bit bad there, but they held their own against Pioneers extremely well. That could have gone anybody's way, even with a little bit of a draft diff, I would say. We are going to see them end up falling there, and it looks like we might have a forfeit from Code OG. Hold on, chat. Let me check my Discord messages real quick here because I am seeing that score populated right now. 1 second, guys. And unfortunately, that is actually going to be it for us today, guys. Code OG has forfeited their game, so Elevate is going to get the free win over Code OG. I am quite disappointed to see that, guys. I am as disappointed as you are, Kilo, in the chat. So, sorry about that, chat, but we are going to see our final game be that LLC versus KCP. We'll just check back in on the leaderboards real quick. But actually, guys, we'll show you what we've got coming up tomorrow. This will be played tomorrow at the same exact time, guys. We're going to start picking up the pace as we move into our playoffs. But we've got day 6, which is going to be Brawl Ball, starting off with LLC and SSG's rematch, then GG Pioneers, Real Ones versus Elevate, Code OG versus Tribe, Moto Mommy's Crumbs, and then finishing up with Mori versus STMN. Chat, I do apologize. I was expecting that 5th game to take place as well. Got a little bit of a late notey on that one, but sad we won't get to see that final game. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. Pampit, really great job doing your first cast. What do you have to say? What did you get out of this experience?
Hey man, that was a lot of fun. I've been watching competitive Brawl Stars for a long time now, so I've always wanted to do something like this. And shout out my friend Duncan, man, who built his Brawl community, got into the casting game, and is doing a great job killing it there. So yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of this, and thank you, chat, for the support. Not you, Kiloa, but yeah, they were great games today.
Awesome stuff, Pampin. Awesome stuff to our competitors right there. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Smilky. Guys, this would not be possible without our sponsors and with all of the development team. So thank you to everybody who takes place in this tournament. Special shout out to all the players who showed up today as well. And thank you again to the viewers, guys. We couldn't do it without you. Obviously, it's awesome to see Brawl eSports taking off, and I love to see all the people in the community that keep that love for the game rolling. So pretty awesome stuff, guys. Does Pamp have any socials? Pamp, anything you want to plug?
Follow Duncan's TikTok.
Alright, follow Duncan's TikTok. Pamp does have Twitter as well, so I'll throw that into the chat in 1 second, guys. But that is all we have for now. We will be back tomorrow with Panda and myself, so thank you, chat, for joining. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. That's going to do it for us. Peace out.